and welcome back to the Kunoichi Crush. My name is Nerdy Bird. This is Suyu. We're going to be bringing you the action for the first two games of today as a whole. And of course, now that we are in day two, it means we are at the top 8 teams here that are left standing for the prize pool of $250 for this tournament. With that being said, I do think, and so you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one, we can take a quick look at the journey that these teams have taken to get here in the form of our bracket to see who they've gone up against and who is still left standing for today.
Yeah, of course. Coming into this hot action Saturday, we're gonna have Professor Gibble versus Blue Rose, and we're gonna be having Fable GG and Transformers, I believe, on stream as our upcoming game. Meanwhile, it looks like Inarizaki has taken 2-0 over Hoggers. And they'll be playing the winner of Valentine and Andromeda Equinox. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the Andromeda Equinox squad, that is a association that recently went under a rebranding. I don't know if you're ever familiar with Ariadne Academy. That is what that squad used to be a part of. Now they have rebranded to all of this Nebula, Andromeda stuff, and they're reaching for the stars. It's really cool. I'm excited to see what they bring to the table today, but we'll focus instead on Fable GG and Transformers. I do believe we actually have the lineups for both these squads, and out the gate, I'm going to say that I love the name of Transformers. But we're going to look at Fable GG first. Look, I think it's creative, and I think it's very, I don't know, festive considering the Transformers stuff that just came out. And for Fable GG, we're going to start out with Benevolent, Mike Min, Avery, Fury, and Loved. Aw, I love that name.
Yeah, that's very, very sweet. We have some hitters on this team as well. Avery attending Bellevue University, and it seems that McMahon has also played on Vancouver Titans Blue for CAH before, so we have some familiar names in this bracket. But coming on to the other side of this game, we are going to be having the Transformers. I'm very excited about that name.
And just, I have seen McMahon a few times. Avery, I have observed, not so much casted. But on the other side of the lineup for the Transformers squad, I mean, other than horror, why don't you introduce the squad to us? I just had to say that one.
Well, we are starting it off with horror, as well as Fishy with Dawes coming in on a Wrecking Ball. Might be interesting. As well as Nicoletta and Mew in that backline.
Look, Wrecking Ball in the current state of the game, I feel like is healthy. Some players will tell you you don't do much. You roll through your team when they're getting pummeled, you give them some shields, and you roll away. And your goal is to take a couple of cooldowns. And if you are
Maybe having some technical difficulties there, but yeah, having a Wrecking Ball in this meta would be very interesting, but I'm not exactly sure if we're going to be seeing that today. We have a very strong Malga meta, I believe, in our current patch. The previous mid-season patch not exactly helping out with that, but you never know from these teams. We might be pulling up with something unexpected, and seeing that Wrecking Ball on front and center might be very interesting to see.
Am I good? Can everyone hear me once again? Thank you. My internet decides to be very finicky. Sometimes I apologize for that. So I believe I missed your response to you. What map do you think the squad's going to want to roll out on today? Oh, well, okay. I can be the voice of reason on this one in regards to what I think a Wrecking Ball player should want to roll out onto within regards to, of course, Control Point being our very first map type of the day. I always highly encourage going onto any map that is very open, so you want to be looking at more at like the Oasis map. Nepal kind of can be friendly, but you really got to hope that you don't start on Sanctum, because then you're fighting an uphill battle if you want to be running a Wrecking Ball comp. But I feel like Ilios, Oasis, probably safe map picks for the Transformers squad. Now, the question of whether or not they get those two maps, well, either of those two maps, I don't know. If you really want to rub it in their faces that Yep, I was about to say that if you really want to play the Sigma and just not let them do anything or play Maga, you could go Antarctic Peninsula, and that'll be an interesting experience for any Wrecking Ball player who's forced to play against a Maga on one of those maps. What do you think, Suyu?
I mean, I think on my end, I just think right now playing to a Maga at all is going to be incredibly difficult because we've all seen the Twitter clips. We've all seen that one Hydron clip of, you know, just standing there and just taking all that damage and just being able to sustain through all of it. I think just having that as your focal point when you're making these teams is going to be incredibly difficult to navigate around. A Wrecking Ball could pierce through, might be able to find a couple of cheeky boops, find some people that are a bit out of position. Especially on Antarctic, you have a couple ways to kind of navigate around that. But I don't know, it might be a little bit too difficult, but I'd love to see it. I'd love to see them try to go for it.
I encourage creativity. I always encourage going against the grain, but I don't know. Maga in the current state of the game is scary, is painful. The other night I was playing with some friends, and my friends were like, oh my goodness, don't go in, you're so low. And I was like, I'm fine, because I hit my E, and they're like, okay, you went from literally critical to full health. I just think the break point on Maga's health within the reference to the kit and the changes that they made, like 100% lifesteal is disgusting, first and foremost. I'm here for it, but it's painful to be on the receiving end of. So I feel like any team that if you roll out and you see they're on Maga, your option is to turn around and come back on Maga, or try your best, and it's going to be really painful and you're fighting tooth and nail constantly.
Oh, for sure. It's going to be a scrappy battle, I think, today. So we're just waiting to get into our first control map of Antarctic Peninsula. We are doing only first to twos for this Saturday. It will be tomorrow where we go into some longer games. So these might be some pretty fast action back-to-back games as we're going to finally head into Antarctic Peninsula.
And I'm waiting on Transformers. Y'all are the ones that I'm curious about. You have
We gotta
the
see it.
confidence
We gotta see it.
to put the ball down. I mean, of course, at the end of the day, it could have just been, you know, your favorite hero for that role, which is fine. And it looks like Dawes for Transformers rolling out on that Ramatra. I think Ramatra's pretty powerful in the current state as well. We have Avery going with Sigma. I've seen Avery plenty of times play Sigma, so not shocked on that one. Perhaps there was an agreement between these two squads of Hey No Maga. If there was, you literally, like, both these teams will have just made my day.
I'd be excited to see that too, but that doesn't stop the fact that both of these DPSs of Mickman and Horror are playing the Pharah, which has also been pretty prevalent this meta. So we're starting to roll out immediately. I'm interested to see these two different compositions go together. A little bit difference in the heals, a little bit difference in that front line, the way they want to navigate that hit scan and that main healer.
I think Benevolence is going to have a little bit easier of a time staying alive. But we'll have to wait and see as Dawes comes out in that Nemesis form, is pummeling into the backline. Avery gets themselves eliminated. Dawes is going to be forced to back off, wait for those cooldowns to come back. But Pharah has commanding control over here on the coastline as we see Mickman find the elimination over onto Fishy. But again, Dawes is just going to come back into an area with cover. And I think it's going to be a battle of Mickman and Horror who's going to find the opportunistic picks and allow for their tank to go in, because right now it's Dawes who's being facilitated by the DPS damage that's coming through from Horror and Fishy.
Absolutely, and that new movement on the Pharah is going to allow Pharah just to navigate previously unnavigatable circumstances, as now Avery has switched onto the Ramatra to try and find out the Ditto, and just swarming onto the point, Mickman finds another pick onto Nicoletta, and that's that DPS battle working out in Fable's favor, as Avery and Dawes are just in this tank battle, running it down to each other while Mickman cleans up everybody else.
Okay, Mickman, I see you taking down 4 members of the enemy team. So Horror, I request of you, can you do the same thing? I think Avery swapping over to this Ramatra was the missing piece, the sustainability that's allowed from the Nemesis form, throwing your arms up. I think it's a lot better than just holding out hands when you're on Sigma, and that's what immediately Avery recognizes, that, okay, I gotta swap, it's not worth it. But Dawes is leading the charge with this Nemesis, with the Annihilation, in conjunction with Mew with that Coalescence almost being online. That's a deadly combo with just an amp speed coming through from Nicoletta. Fury, though, is leading as far as beat charge goes, so theoretically, that's enough to counter those two ultimates.
Theoretically, yes, but in practice, Horror finally wins that DPS battle against Mickman, throwing that barrage onto the point, not quite finding a pick. Fiery taking down Horror in the process. McMahon trying to come back as fast as they can, but it seems like Transformers have found a bit of a foothold, trying to flip this point before it's too late. Dawes taking down Kaleidoscope and Fiery, and re-aggressing onto that point, taking over control and starting to build on that 23% they had earlier.
67% at this point in time. I'm just going to round it up. I'm no mathematician, so bear with me if it's not supposed to be done in every instance. You're at 70. We'll round it out there.
Pretty much.
That means
we can take that.
Yeah, thank you. If Fable wins this point back, it is last fight territory. And looking at the ultimates online, McMahon and then Avery, those two in conjunction with one another can be very powerful, but I feel as though Transformers still has those 3 ults I talked about earlier coming in online, but they did lose that Coalescence earlier as we have Dawes pop that Annihilation, run in, and we see Kaleidoscope fall immediately for Fable.
Oh, but with that beat offline, there's just no sustain for this Transformer squad right now. Dawes still being held alive, still holding on to that ultimate, trying to get some work in as the rest of Fable just is able to snipe around. But Avery goes down in the process here, Fiery and Kaleidoscope unable to keep them alive as Horror flies into Benevolence, and Nicola is able to win out Fiery, and Transformers is able to stay on this point and keep Fable away from that 70% and building.
Okay, Benevolence has given up the Ghost with in regards to that Ashe and swapping over to the Cassidy. Remember, there was a slight, I'm putting that in air quotes, it was very painful, nerf onto Cassidy with damage fall off, so your effectiveness range is a lot shorter than it used to be, making Far so oppressive, but I do think it's a better matchup than trying to go for the Ashe, as we see the beat drop come out from Nicoletta, as well as Mew, hitting that Coalescence. They do manage to pick up 2 and a 3rd coming down for Fable GG.
Just completely swarmed in there. It's going to be incredibly tough just for McMahon to try and fight that 1v5. The ultimate's not quite coming in time for Fable GG as Transformers locked down that point. It didn't seem like it was going to go that hard in Transformers' direction at the beginning of the game, but those quick little counter swaps, those slight little adjustments to start battling out a little bit more in that Ditto, it seems like Transformers really has a foothold on this composition.
I think Avery has learned their lesson and instead of trying to go for the Sigma play here is probably just going to stick with the Ramatra. Yeah, and we actually have McMahon swapping over to the Mei, so it's a pseudo wall and brawl type of situation when you have that Mei. Nope, McMahon's just going to continue to toy with me. I'm not trusting you till those doors drop, but I really want to focus on how Transformers made those last 2 fights extend. It was those staggers. People on Fable's squad did not die together and die fast, so let's see if they can rectify that here for map number 2.
McMahon still playing with us a little bit, going to be sticking onto that Venture for their initial push out here. Otherwise, composition's mostly staying the same for both sides, as Avery wants to take a bit more of the aggression here, but it allows Horror to come around the side and take down Benevolence. That's that DPS, that hit scan power gone, allowing Horror just to keep going on a tear. McMahon going down the process, and it just feels like Transformers is just walking over, saying hello to Fable, shaking their hand, putting them a little bit down, and taking the point for themselves.
I think it unfortunately comes down to, while I know there's some Baptiste players and Baptiste enjoyers, Bap does a lot of damage, but you're also, you only have verticality. You don't have a lot of horizontal mobility, and I think Moira in conjunction with Lucio, those 2 supports have a lot of mobility. They can survive, they can get out of damage from that far a little bit easier, and so that is why the team of Fable is struggling here, because the juicy targets on their squad are Baptiste and Ashe, as opposed to just being the Cassidy for Transformers currently.
Speaking of, though, Kaleidoscope, that DPS aspect of Baptiste that we were just talking about is able to find Horror, and I think that's why they want to keep that Baptiste no matter what. Having that extra bit of hit scan power to take down Horror on that Pharah might be crucial for them. It seems like that first pick, though, doesn't seem to be building anything, as Dawes is holding on to just an inch of their life, finally having to use their cooldowns a bit, and Fiery is a little bit too far in. Dawes able to take them down, picks being flown both ways, as Fable has been able to split up this point enough to take it over for themselves. Avery still fighting this 1v2 here. Especially coming back around, Kaleidoscope throwing down Baptiste's ultimate, trying to keep Avery alive as long as possible, waiting for the rest of Fable to come back and be able to re-aggress this as a full fight.
The fact that Transformers is not able to find this elimination here onto Avery is probably a little aggravating for that squad. They get Lucio dangerously low, but Avery does eventually fall. McMahon in the middle of that rocket barrage ends up going down as well. The amount of time the Transformers spent here on the point without them falling was ridiculous. That shows just pure patience on their side.
That patience really rewarding them as well. Look at the ultimate difference right now. They have a full 3 ultimates online for Transformers. A lot of oppressive damage being able to be done. Fiery does have that beat, and Avery is building up to their own ultimate, but the economy seems a bit in Transformers' side. That really long team fight just let them build up so much, and Horror's gonna come in, drop in with the barrage, trade it out. But Transformers is one with all of the map space available to them. Rushing in is Dawes. Going to go down in the process, though. Might be a little bit too over-aggressive as Kaleidoscope is cleaning up with the Baptiste.
I am all for putting the pedal to the metal and continuing to pressure forward, but when you get too big for your britches, you're going to get punished. I mean, we lost Horror, and then Dawes decided to go in as well and kept swinging despite being, I think we are down to like a 3rd health, and just at a certain point gave up the ghost and said, I'm going to keep going. Unfortunately, that did end up losing them control of this point, but they're at 91%. The only ult online for them, though, is Fishy coming in with this Deadeye, and Deadeye is a very high risk, high reward, especially now that he can walk hard coming in on the Cassidy. That movement with amp speed can be huge, but we've got 2, almost 3 ults online for Fable GG to respond with. Actually, rectify that, 4 ults online.
Oh, but speaking of Fishy, he's walking up and he's taking names. They are taking names right now. Kaleidoscope and Benevolence going down early. McMahon and Avery trying to keep themselves in the fight. That's another 2 to 3K for McMahon. They're swarming this point again. Transformers is unable to just set in and set up their ground. It feels like they're just trying to push in over aggressively, especially now that they're so close to the end. It's just allowing Fable to re-aggress, and they've built up to 85%.
So many ultimates were dropped from Fable GG during that last fight, though, to secure the point. We're equalized as far as percentile control goes as we have Transformers walking in.
But Mew goes down way too early. It's unfortunate. McMahon is just on a tear right now, booping people out of position and just mowing them down. Fishy is going to go down by Benevolence, and it just feels like this might be too much for Transformers to take, as map 1, or point 1, for Fable is going to be on the board as we head into point 3 for map 1.
Okay, so I think
Still
this final...
What's going on?
I mean, I'm an enjoyer of the Alt-Z button for anyone who's unaware. If you're currently on a control... It only works on control maps. But if you Alt-Z after the victory screen has popped up, you can still move, you can still fire, do damage, and get some extra eliminations, make yourself feel happy, especially if, like, you were stuck in spawn. That's always nice to do. You can move around on other maps when you Alt-Z, but you can't get any eliminations. There was a time where that actual bug allowed people to get play of the game, despite the game being not happening in that moment when Overwatch 2 first dropped. It was really funny to look at because you'd see no one moving. I digress. This map, I think, honestly, it's going to come down to McMahon and Horror. Who could be the most oppressive? Who's going to be able to swing angles? That was going to rely on their tank of Avery or Dawes to facilitate the wide swings. And is the enemy hit scan able to shut down those angles? The stronger positioning, I feel like, right now is coming out of Fable GG, swinging wide on the coastline. Yeah,
like you said earlier, we have that little bit of extra range on this Ashe for Ashe to just stay alive and get more damage off. Horror is already down to just a sliver of life as we're starting off this team fight. I think Fable's composition might be stronger than what we gave it credit for earlier, especially with Kaleidoscope still poking out damage. Horror is unable to aggress in and just let McMahon take all of that space for themselves.
I mean, if you think about it, that dynamite landing into the back line makes it so it's a little more scary for Horror to want to wide swing because you have to keep pressure up to protect your backline, as we see Fishy take down Fury from Fable GG, and now it's just down to Kaleidoscope, who's already sub half health, is trying to heal up, uses that immortality, but we're out in the open. This is the risk versus reward positioning coming into play right now, as we see Avery fall and the rest getting pushed back by Horror and company.
Still falling here. Transformers pushing all the way back. I actually felt like Fable had a stable position in that fight. What really just happened there?
Really, it ultimately came down to We saw it earlier. It happened to Mew. Losing one of your supports just a half a second too early. I mean, honestly, a support should never die first. It's never your goal. You want to be the last player standing. And losing your Lucio, that amp speed is so essential to almost every single comp that you see a Lucio in to get out of danger situations that they just got picked apart and they were pushed into when they recognized that resource of speed with Fury being eliminated was partly in the favor of Transformers. Now they're going to continue to capitalize on this. Hitting that coalescence
Man, the reverse. That barrage is going to take down Fishy through the coalescence. And Fable GG is just going to flip this yet again. Transformers had the ultimates. They had the positioning. But Fable time and time again just mowing them down. Kaleidoscope really getting themselves up on the board right now.
I think Mew just hit that coalescence a little too early, did not anticipate what cooldowns were still available for Fable GG. Keep in mind that D.Va is extremely powerful still. If you're able to pick a target and say that you are the one to die, that is basically what the key to playing a good D.Va is. Picking a squishy, calling them out, and using all your cooldowns on them and getting out of dodge because those rocket boosters come back online so fast. We have Bob coming in online for Fable GG after the amplification matrix came through. We see ults getting traded on both sides. Who's going to pay more to win this fight?
He's going to go through there. Benevolent's just holding on to that Bob for now, waiting for the rest of Transformers to funnel into point, and that's exactly why. Perfect flick up onto Nicoletta to take her down, and Bob is just going to go on a tear and just be a complete lockdown for Transformers to try and push in there. We're seeing that time and time again, Transformers just feeling like they have momentum, they want to push in, Nicoletta speeding everybody in. Fable is just allowing them to walk into trap time and time again.
Fable is also showing a lot of discipline, willing to give up this choke point area, back off into an additional choke point, which is that little funnel that you mentioned where we saw Bob get yeeted into at like the pseudo end of the last fight. Giving up the space, understanding where they need to fight and when they can take it back, because they see all these cooldowns coming out from Transformers to gain that space initially, and they don't have to use anything in return. So we have Benevolence throwing in that dynamite. I think it landed on everybody, and unfortunately Dawes failed with the defense matrix in that instance, and that's just giving a lot of free charge to Benevolence. But McMahon coming up with another rocket barrage. I'm interested to see where this one comes in, because these have all been huge from both of the Pharahs in this game.
And we'll have to stay alive and try and flank around to find that Benevolence is still keeping the rest of Transformers at bay. Another massive dynamite to annoy the rest of that backline. And McMahon, there is that barrage. Fishy going down, and that's another ultimate offline for Transformers. Horror's trying to keep everybody in this fight. But with that initial opening pick out of McMahon, it's all just falling apart for Transformers now. Heading into overtime, this D.Va battle is going in the way of Fable. Fury is just on point to keep everybody up. Kaleidoscope throwing down the ultimate, and map 1 will fall the way of Fable GG.
All right, let's take a look at this play of the game. Definitely going to be a DPS one.
Oh, for sure. I mean, we've been talking about this Pharah battle back and forth this
Yeah.
entire time, and it has to go to one of these McMahon plays. They have gotten so many clean hits. Look at that boop. Oh my goodness. Just a terror right now with how good Pharah is. I'm enjoying seeing it. I don't think everybody is, but I'm really enjoying seeing the Pharah gameplay out of both these teams.
Look, I enjoy me some good flying Junkrat gameplay across the board, but just Pharah in her current state is very oppressive. I think the kit changes that they made in the previous season to make her more independent have become very powerful, and the whole, I don't know what's going on with it, but the Conch Mine still doing damage is scary. The boop coming out of it, that's more powerful than Lucio's boop. If anyone doesn't know, I love Lucio, and the fact that the boop is just now like nullified right before this tournament started made me extremely sad. So I think, honestly, everything's going to come down to these Pharah players, the flex DPS. What are you willing to do, the risk you're willing to take, and will it pay off? Though the number of times we saw the Pharahs hit the ultimate and end up dying at the same time was also tragic, so that just goes to show you how squishy she can still be. I think, but I have seen teams circumvent those concerns using a Life Weaver. And
Okay.
yeah, you hit the barrage and then you literally go, please pull me, to your Life Weaver, and then your Life Weaver just pulls you like right at the halfway point of the barrage after you get 1 or 2 eliminations, and you're safe. But you don't have that currently right now with these teams. Instead, you're relying on your divas, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one, but was it just weird? It seemed like the divas let a significant amount of damage on both sides come through from the DPS.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to kind of agree with you there. I'm not exactly sure if I love these divas. Like I know the buffs are there. I know she's incredibly tanky now, but I feel like with all this talk of us just loving Pharah and how integral Pharah is to the way both these teams are playing right now, it just seems a matter of how willing are you to commit to helping your Pharah? How many resources do you want your Pharah to have? We saw that little backline difference with the Moira versus Baptiste battle, and it seems like by the end of it, Baptiste, with that little bit of extra damage to throw onto the Pharah, a little bit of extra sustain in that way, just able to just shoot the Transformers DPS out of the sky again and again. But coming into our next map, maybe something changes a little bit.
I think maybe the most we'll see of a
Maybe.
change is in regards to like our tank, at least the
That's what I'm
starting
thinking.
tanks.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's my hope, at least. I mean, I love things changing up. I'm a huge Diva fan. It made me super happy to see the Divas actually coming out. I feel like for a very long time, people just did not think Diva was a viable tank. And yes, I agreed, but there were some players that were absolute menaces on Divas that still played her in ladder and still played her in tournaments. But to see ending up seeing a double diva mirror on both sides was actually made my heart very happy. But I think in the current state of the game, with in regards to just right now, I called last season the season of the DPS, but this season is the season of the tank. And if your tank is not getting high damage mitigation numbers because of that DPS passive, it's gonna be very painful for any squishy that's on the field. So perhaps we don't see divas here and we see more safety play coming through, because ultimately you either have this very oppressive Pharah who's going to swing wide angles and could theoretically get punished, but if we aren't running that bat from that like we had from Fable, if Transformers is still not going with that Baptiste, it's gonna be a lot slower, a lot safer rotations happening. So you could theoretically play a more poke spammy composition on whichever map we have for hybrid.
Well, I mean, at the same time, if you really wanted to keep that diva, it just takes one hit of that right click to keep that far alive through the barrage, right? It might be some different compositions coming out as we're going to be going into King's Row for our next map. I mean, not exactly a far map in my head. Where do you think we're going to be going with this one?
Okay, so I actually do think that this map is a map that a Pharah can play on. At least.
Oh, excuse me, I meant a diva. Excuse me, I'm getting my words confused
diva.
here. Pharah, yes, please. I mean,
okay, yes and no. Again, you're a tank that if you aren't careful, I think the healing passive has definitely helped out tanks like Wrecking Ball and Diva a significant amount. But unfortunately, on this map, it becomes more of a case of you don't see your Diva, you don't see your Wrecking Ball type of situation very early on, especially during the control point. Like, it's a touch and go type of game on the objective to just make sure that they're unable to actually fully cap it. You're walking the line of giving up percentile to keep your mech, and so I don't think we'll see Diva. I think we're going to see something like Ramatra, Sigma, or maybe even Reinhardt with the current changes to Ryan. I know some Reinhardt mains were rejoicing when the changes came through because they felt like they could play him again, so we'll have to wait and see what the starting compositions are, and I'm really interested to see if the defensive squad, I do believe it's going to end up being Fable on defense first. It's typically what you pick when you're unable to pick the map. You want to defend first. If they start on one composition and then after losing objective choose to swap, because that is the one instance where I feel like you might have to, based off the comp that's coming out of the enemy team. So actually, and we're gonna see what type of character silhouettes we've got coming in. Still have that BAP. Avery's still on Diva, but Dawes with that Sigma. And I'm just not gonna trust the DPS until doors drop. No, just never.
Yeah, always a bit of a goofy time on that front. Avery is sticking onto the Diva, however. On the defense as well, wanting that maneuverability, maybe wanting to help out Mickman a bit more, maybe just want to be a bit more mobile and helping to drop back and maybe help out Kaleidoscope and Fury stay alive. But maybe Transformers are sticking onto these DPS picks right now. How are you feeling about Bastion Cassidy?
Okay, so the Bastion pick I'm here for. The Cass pick in conjunction with it, I'm a little scared. Typically with this, I'm pretty sure this is just to see if you can get an early pick on someone being a little too forward positioned. No, we're actually going to go with double hit scan with Horror and Fishy both being on Cassidy and Widowmaker respectively. I mean, if Horror can go undetected, so to speak, get in, get an angle, find this elimination, it could be absolutely massive. But unfortunately, Fishy going down means you have to play a little bit more protective of your backline to not let them pass away to the enemy front line.
I think that might be exactly the problem with Transformers want to go towards here. I'm also surprised that Horror is sticking it out for this long, trying to find that pick. As you're splitting out so much on this Widow, to just try and find that one opening pick that one time, that gives Transformers so much time to just aggress onto everybody else. Fable, there's Avery dropping back a little bit. Horror still trying to find these dinks. And there it is, finally, McMahon going down. Horror getting that first initial big pick that Transformers is waiting on this whole time. They're going to start swarming around to the point, making Fable drop around from the hotel and aggress back into the point. They've found Avery stuck up in the corner, still staying alive. Horror still finding headshots on the outside on the Benevolence. 2 big picks from them now, as Transformers is already taking 2.5 picks. Just controlling the space, not necessarily having to do a bunch of damage, but just slowly picking off everybody on this Fable GG line. Couple picks going their way too. McMahon switching off to Tracer now. We're finding that lore battle between the Widow and the Tracer, between the two of these now. That might be fun to watch. But just by the skin of their teeth, Fable is able to re-aggress with speed and hold it down before falling on that first point.
I have to give some credit over to Fiery here, because we could see that Lucio over by the phone booth, just barely touching the point enough to help their diva and give that healing aura over and remain in an area to be safe without going too gun-ho and into the backline and being, you know, very squishy to pick on, as we have Dawes go in with the Graphitic Flux. McMahon ends up falling, so no one in the Flux goes down. Nicoletta hits that beat drop, and now this is spatial control in favor of Transformers. We end up losing Horror. Fishy taking on the Lucio inside here from Hotel. It does look like that will be the objective. Going over to Transformers, they're gonna have to play cleanup crews. Lucio goes in. We see the pulse bomb. McMahon, unfortunately, passing away with the hero play.
Yeah, just having almost everything being thrown at that fight, and still on Transformers' side, you still have Coalescence. You still have that Cowboy Ultimate coming through as well. I think you're feeling pretty good for Transformers with 4 minutes on the board as well. Nice little start for them, as Fable is trying to find a composition that works for them. McMahon has gone back onto the far, and I think I like this for the second section of the map. You do have a lot of that aerial space to just funnel down these rockets into the little lanes. Have to see if they'll be able to catch on to that, though. They do have Ultimates online. Fiery does have the beat online for that to stand, just in case things get dicey. We are fighting up the Sigma Mirror now. Benevolence still trying to find some damage. Horror playing a Genji now. Everybody just seems to be pick and roll, swapping heroes left and right. A little bit of an unfortunate Bob, I think, might still be okay, unless Transformer really wants to aggress out with this, with the Coalescence, and Horror is going to just melt through the rest of that Bob. Just slow and steady here right now.
You could tell that Bob was not where they wanted that one. I mean, Benevolence walked forward and tried to melee Bob around the corner, couldn't quite get it. See, this is if you're on a life wave where you could just grasp them around the corner.
But does that mean Benevolence just cleans up by themselves, you know? Maybe the Bob not exactly necessary if you're just gonna hit shot after shot after shot, you know?
It was a bait and switch. It was all to make Transformers feel more secure, and then Benevolence was like, okay, now you think you're fine. I used Bob. They did also bait out a significant number of cooldowns from Transformers in that instance after they had eliminated Bob, because they thought they were safe to move forward, and then they just get punished. Now we've got 2 ults online that, in conjunction with one another from Transformers, that Graphitic Flux and the Deadeye, can actually be very powerful, considering Fishy is able to walk around a corner and then insta-kill some people in that lift as it goes online. It's huge! It's got 3! But Fishy has fallen, and Mew is falling as well. Transformers, that is not a good sign for you.
Oh, it's gonna be tough for Transformers. They just got held up in their spawn for so long. I got pretty scared that Fable was just gonna keep spawn camping them, throwing in their ultimates and forcing ults out of Transformers. They sped around to try and get the point, and they found out Benevolence early, but Fable still just able to mow them down, and they have ult online now too. McMahon with that barrage. We've seen it before. We've seen how much devastation they can throw in, even if they just get their life trade down the process. They're coming out, they're swinging out. Q is online, but no picks this time, as Horror has gotten that little pick. Beat goes down from Nicoletta as well, keeping everybody in the fight, as Fishy uses their own ultimate to keep some spacing on them as well. Kaleidoscope finally going down that back line, as Dawes is cleaning up the fight for Transformers, and finally some aggression, some clean fight wins out of Transformers.
I love how Horror just decides to hit the emo out in the open. and says, I'm sorry to the enemy team. Probably got just a very minimal amount of chip damage in to find that final elim, but was literally chilling at 15 health in an area where this Pharah coming in from McMahon could have easily landed a single rocket onto you and eliminated you. So thank you for keeping you alive in that instance. As we go in here, we got Kaleidoscope, the only one with the ultimate secured for Fable GG, looking to round this corner, hit the amplification matrix, and lock this angle down. We've got 40 seconds left as the blade is instigated with the coalescence coming in from Transformers.
Ooh, a clean drive. Blade just coming out of Horror right now. That's 2 under the hands of the Dragon Blade for Horror. Make it 3 as Fiery falls into the hands of Horror. And another quick little fight there from Transformers seals them out. Kaleidoscope held on to that Baptiste ultimate that whole time, just letting Benevolence build up back to the Bob. Maybe they feel like they needed to drop that just so they can be a bit stronger on this third point of the map.
I mean, the possibility is there, but I do think that Baptiste's amplification matrix is, it recharges so fast that we could have used it last fight to buy us some extra time, but we're going to use it with the Bob instead. But look at the window. We just back up a little bit, and we are in safety zone currently for the Transformers squad. Boyer's fate has been forced out as we lose Dawes, but they should be able to just back up into spawn. No one else will fall. It's not a huge stagger, which is something I feel like Transformers has been excelling at, is creating these staggers onto the Fable GG team. Without that full team wipe, you're just waiting for one person to come forward and everyone else is safe. As we have Avery with another Graphitic Flux online. The last one was Juicy. Can we get another 3-piece combo? It looks like we're only going to lift the Sig. Sig is going to sustain all the way through that lift as well.
Glenna is going to throw down the beat right before McMahon comes in with the barrage. No pick for McMahon this time around, as Benevolence is going to be able to find out that pick on the Dawes. As Transformers just needs to back up again. The second time the tank has gone down first in that team fight. It's quite unfortunate. Not exactly a stagger, as we were saying, but I mean, with only 30 seconds left on the clock from that initial 4 you had at the beginning of when you capped point 1, starting to get a little dicey, especially only now you're starting to build up ults as Transformers, while Fable has just been cycling things again and again. Fires has beat again for when Transformers need to push this out.
Transformers has just been caught on the back foot, but Dawes comes in. Here's the lift. Dodges the rock. Manages. I don't think anyone actually was caught inside of that ultimate. We have Deadeye also being used by Fishy. It doesn't find anybody either, but the follow-up damage on Avery, Kaleidoscope, Benevolence, all 3 are going to fall. Nope, there's Milkman as well. The staggering capabilities that I mentioned for Transformers, I think, are starting to get thwarted by Fable. They recognize, hey, we've gone down 2, we need to just die. You can't get out when you're that deep in anyway, so it's look at me, kill me first type of mentality coming in when your team's fallen.
True last type territory now. Benevolence is going to have the only potential ultimate for Fable right now, building up to that Bob. But Horror wants to get the party started early. They've had to push back all the way into their spawn. Fable had to back up so much just so they wouldn't fall to the blade of Horror as the rest of Transformers tried to push this point. But around on the other side, Avery and Benevolence are holding it down for Fable right now. Kaleidoscope still has the ultimate just in case, but it won't be necessary, as right before the cart pushes all the way, the hold is there, and Transformers will end with a 2 tick on the board.
All right, yes, it's a 2, but once again, I'm going to pull the I'm rounding up.
Close, is it close enough to a 3? Would you count it?
Close enough, at least in my book. Close enough. I know that some people will be like, hey, that only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, but they're right there. The cart is halfway over that final circle. The golden parking spot is pretty gosh darn close. So I'm going to count it. Yes, ultimately the scoreboard will only reflect a 2, but Transformers, they have a significant amount of distance to work with. And if anything, I think the amount of time they started with versus the amount of time, obviously they ran out of time, having 4 minutes on the clock, it should show them that even if Fable has 4 minutes on the clock, that they're capable of also turning things back around in their favor, staggering things out, forcing, at minimum, you want to get like 3 fights in Streets phase if there's 4 minutes on the clock to lower that time. Thank you, production. There's that golden parking space.
Just
it's halfway
inches,
over.
Just inches.
Yeah, it's close enough. It's close enough in my book.
Yeah,
so with that in mind,
suppose.
I think Transformers has an opportunity here to prevent that final check mark from being taken over by Fable GG. And keep in mind, everyone, this is first to 2 in this series. So if Fable wins here on Kings Road, that's it. This game is done and dusted, and they move on and secure another opportunity to fight in this. It is double elimination, but at the end of the day, this is top 8, baby. You gotta make yourself known. And McMahon actually had a mercy pocket for a moment coming out from Fiery, trying to get this early Widow pick faster than we saw earlier. I don't know how well it's going to work out, though.
Yeah, both these teams seem to be pretty excited to play that Widow, but I think McMahon understands maybe it's not the right time right now. Switching back onto that Pharah to get us started in their attack. Avery's just waiting for McMahon to get back into the fray here. Starting to push around now, coming around to the side of the statue. Just inches, and that's the way both these Sigmas are going to play into each other. Just giving up little bits of space here and there, walling out different things here and there, just hoping somebody makes a mistake just like that. Avery winning out that little bit of a Sig battle. So many people low on the Transformer side, and finally able to find the double with that M1. McMahon using that splash damage to clean up, and it feels like just Transformers backed up a little bit into the wrong way, wasn't able to get their healing back up, and just fell over for it. And that's exactly where I'd be scared of as Transformers right now. I mean, it was close. They got the 2, but they didn't go all the way. They can't let things get close. And when you're falling that early, when you're playing with 5 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock, I think you're a little bit more comfortable if you're Fable right now.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared to see a cap on King's Row with 5 minutes on the clock, but we've got to advantage.
Oh my gosh! I don't think we were prepared for horror to fall down in that horrific way either. McMahon, they have been such a menace on this Pharah, going uncontested, basically just going in by themselves. I feel like they should have a Mercy Pocket on them, unable to just finish out one of those picks, but that's why the rest of Fable GG has pushed up so far. Everybody is lit now from that Ash Dynamite. Kaleidoscope finds those little bits of damage, finishing out Fishy, and we're already backpedaling all the way into nearly spawn. Fable GG has pushed up so far.
Honestly, if you see 4 people in front of you, you know there's one on cart, then great. But if you're seeing 3, there's one on cart, you need to figure out where that Pharah is at. It's like, where's the Reinhardt type of gameplay on King's Row? We round the corner with Avery, he's gonna dodge the rock, hits that flux, but the beat comes down and will save the tank. Dawes, low health, also responds in kind with their own, but no one has fallen, so we decided to throw in the amplification matrix just for good measure, locked out this entire angle. We see McMahon fall, Horror fall, Nicoletta also is going to be eliminated, and it looks like this fight's going in favor of Fable.
Just finally able to poke that all the way through. I mean, we're coming into point 2 with another 5:20 on the clock. Transformers is in a bit of a struggle bus right now. They do have at least a Coalescence and nearly a Barrage online, but how do you think they're going to be able to hold this down when Horror is just going to fall at the spawn door?
Okay, also, I was a little scared, Nicoletta. You're giving me heart palpitations. As someone with anxiety, let's not add to it, just skirting along the back of wall here at King's Row. Ends up going for the wall right. I think it's trying to boop Avery in.
And another pick for Avery. Dawes is just unable to compete. Yeah, Benevolent's just throwing in that bob. They're just holding at the spawn door right now. Last chance situation for Transformers just to touch and hopefully find some sort of sustain, but they only have Coalescence and Barrage online as Avery is just funneling damage into their spawn. Even forgot to touch the point for the second as it climbs down. Transformers can't even find the touch as Fable will take this series 2-0.
Look, I always try to be a little bit more on the brighter side of things, but when you have 2 back-to-back point caps with over 5 minutes on the clock, Transformers, you gotta fix something. We got heavily staggered. I think that's really what it came down to. You got staggered as opposed to the first map that we had on Antarctic Peninsula. You did a fabulous job staggering the other team. So, you know, learn from it, fix it. Best of luck going forward, but for now, Fable, holy cow, McMahon.
Yeah,
that was horrifying.
Oh my goodness. that was certainly something to watch. Very impressive work from McMahon and the rest of that Fable squad. It felt, even though it was really back and forth, there's some points where Transformers looked incredibly dominant and then would flip immediately. It still felt close that entire time with how much they were flipping back and forth just on that very last attack from Fable. It felt like Transformers just couldn't get a foothold, couldn't get the full group that they wanted, just couldn't get the pick to go through that they wanted, and everything just fell in favor for Fable to take that 3-2. And that's exactly why it wasn't close enough for me. I wanted to say, you were so close to not having that and at least going into overtime, still getting a foothold in the game, but just not close enough. And that's the little bit of difference that Fable took to take that game and the series.
So Fable gets to move on and continue to go forward, and I think we might actually be following them for us at least here today, but I'm not positive. Yes, we are. right?
Okay.
Okay, cool. So we get to see more action from Fable as we progress forward. I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on McMahon. I think being first on broadcast, you get to set the bar really high, which is exactly what Fable Squad just did. But I feel like there are also some powerhouses across the board from the other teams that are still alive in our series so far for this top 8. But I think we can also hop to a quick break so that both you and I can grab some water. The teams can get ready. They can get out any anxiety they might have, and I can attempt to get the anxiety out of my system that Nicoletta gave me when they were wall riding in front of a Sigma and an Ash at the same time. But for now, everyone can hop off, grab some water. We'll be back here in just a little bit with some more Overwatch action.
right here, you know, you get an insight and you know something, you know, but you don't want to say it out loud because you're kind of afraid that it's not going to be really true and it'll spoil the whole thing for you, you know. But when somebody makes you say it, then, and it's true, then it just makes it more beautiful of a thing.
And welcome back to the Kunoichi Krush. My name's Nerdy Bird. This is Suyu. We just brought to y'all the action between Fable and Transformers. And if you weren't here, I believe, Suyu, do you have some choice words about that last game to share with the people here?
I'll have one choice word, and I think that choice word is going to be Pharah. We've seen a lot of fun Pharah play, especially on the side of Fable GG, you know, Nickman holding it down. But Fable was able to take out that game against Transformers 2-1. Pretty close, all things considered, I think. Or 2-0, excuse me. Like, that's how close it was in some parts, but just at the very end, Fable was able to clutch it out at the end of that.
I mean, tapping the first objective on
well,
Kilo,
yeah.
over
I mean,
5
like, the
minutes on
whole
clock.
thing was kind of clutch, you know?
Yeah, that it hurt my soul to see, but nonetheless, they weren't the only team that was competing during that first game on broadcast that we had. So we can take a quick look at the bracket to see how everything is shaken out for the other squads. There is other teams competing. As I said, we're in the top 8 earlier. They're all competing for $250 prize pools here. We can see we're going to be taking Fable to the finish line here for today between the two of us with Professor Gibble. That's going to be an interesting roster. That's all I have to say. Valentine continues forward, and Inarizaki 0-2, unfortunately, to Valentine. So Valentine already has gone forward. The question is, who's going to meet them there? Is it going to be Professor Gibble? Is it going to be Fable? And then, of course, this is still double elimination. We're waiting on Blue Rose and Transformers to see who's going to progress forward into that first round of that double elimination area. But you can see Hoggers has already lost to Andromeda Equinox, so Andromeda is going to be waiting out also as well to see who ends up winning between the Inarizaki squad versus either Transformers or Blue Rose. And then Andromeda gets a free pass all the way into the, I think that's the quarters for the lower bracket. So that squad's chilling for a while, but really we want to focus on Professor Gibble and the Fable squad that we're coming in for this game number 2 here today live on broadcast. And we could start off with the Fable team's lineup. I mean, we've already seen them. It's Benevolence, Bitman, Avery, Fiery, and Kaleidoscope.
I mean, for sure, we just saw how strong this team is. McMahon holding it down on that Pharah, just putting out insane amounts of damage, and Avery looking very, very comfortable on their choice of Sigma. But on the other side, we have Professor Gibble, and I think a lot of these names are going to be familiar for the people watching at home. We got Wisp, we got Peace, we have Itori, we got Zepturn, and we have SK. I mean, we've seen all of these players just swarming around CAH, the general community of Overwatch, and just be absolutely dominant. So this might be a really fun game.
Also, I just gotta point out, SK, she's currently using the Life Weaver as her character photo. I mean,
you know, I think we know SK.
Gameplay today. I know, but I can hope there could be a moment of, can I get my Life Weaver gameplay? I just want to see one awesome life grip save, and then I'm satisfied. That's it. Or one good pedal platform. And I don't really know if the first map of this game is really going to be one where we might end up seeing that Life Weaver come into play, because I do believe we're going on to Oasis. And with that in mind, based off what we saw earlier, and it's not spoilers, that already happened, we've seen Sigma, we've seen Ramatra, and that's pretty much, and Diva. Those are the 3 tanks that we've seen thus far live on broadcast. We have not actually seen Amaga yet today. So if we stick with the trend of no Maga, what tanks do you think we might roll out on here on Oasis?
I mean, I'm kind of expecting more of the same out of these teams, but, you know, over on the side of Professor Gibble, we do have a Winston player in terms of Hitori, and we've just seen how dominant this squad in general is when they get to play all together. So maybe they're able to force out that Winston more sort of traditional dive play style on Oasis. I feel like it could be doable.
I think, honestly,
maybe.
So long as it's not University, and we actually are going to be starting out on City Center. So this, I think, is a Winston, a map you can play Winston, and Avery is actually looking like we might be able to see that Wrecking Ball gameplay coming in clutch. I'm excited. I like me some good Wrecking Ball. I'm beyond the tank lock-ins, though. I kind of can't trust anything else. Peace most likely going to TP the squad out and then swap. SK, I believe the Lucio pick, and Zepturn, I also believe that Kiriko pick. On the other side, the Kiriko Ana, though, that's interesting. Fiery is actually going to start out on the Lucio. We'll see if that
really
is a lock-in.
Yeah.
No, like
we're still switching. Our game's already started. We gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the TPs out of spawn. I knew Peace was going to swap. That was a given, but we've got McMahon going with the Echo instead this time. That's actually interesting, and I do think we had an unfortunate... Someone's having some issues on there, and I mean, whenever we need technology the most, it seems to fail us. That's just how it tends to happen. Based off what we saw here, though, I think we're going to be sticking with these same compositions. I mean, a Winston v. Winston mirror. Could we expect anything less here on City Center? I don't think so, but McMahon on the Echo. What are your thoughts on that one?
I'm excited to see it. I feel like McMahon is someone who's played a lot of Echo in the past, if I remember correctly. And they're just someone who's been able to play... Oh, uh-oh. It sounds like you're still here, if you can hear us. Maybe, unfortunately, a little disconnect. But going back onto McMahon for a quick second. it seems that McMahon is pretty comfortable on flyers just in general, and the burst damage you're able to get from Echo is going to help out with these dives from Avery on that Winston. Wisp, though, is going to be the one to take up the Ashe instead of Benevolence this time around, as Benevolence has gone on to Cassidy. A little bit of a flip as Wisp takes down Fiery early, getting this fight started, swarming onto the point now. Avery just sitting at 1 HP for a little bit too long, finally goes down. SK coming around, trying to get that bit of healing. Just quickly. It seems that Fable GG might have a bit of ground. Professor Gibber, though, is able to take that back quickly. SK is speeding back in, just taking that over. They get that spawn, they do. And Tori and the rest of the Gibble squad playing out a little bit early. I mean, we know how dominant this squad in general is. They're playing up Pharah too, and it's going to be Peace sticking onto the Pharah. Just with how dominant Pharah is, I'm kind of liking this. We'll see how McMahon wants to approach this specific matchup. Peace is just flying around watching the rest of Fable GG funnel into this little door, getting that damage out early and just making Fable bide out their time.
No one is looking at Peace, and that is what's scaring me. I mean, Peace was literally sitting on the ground for a couple of seconds, which is a lot of time at Overwatch time, in my opinion. And nothing was thrown in their direction. That's where it's getting concerning, is that these Pharahs are oppressive and getting away with it because no one wants to try and fight their power. As we see that Suzu come through after the swift step from Kiriko, and Hattori recognizes the lack of cooldowns, goes for the Primal Rage. Peace hits the Rocket Barrage as well. That's a full team wipe coming in for Professor Gibble, currently 63% and counting right now on this first objective for City Center.
Just point for point, exactly what you talked about. That's exactly what we saw play out on the screen. The second you stop looking at Peace, they just have a full Rocket Barrage incoming into your face while Hattori just tries to pinch you up from the other side. Fable does have ultimates starting to build, though. They might have 4 or 5 ultimates ready to go, but they're going to have to pop them now before this fight even starts on the point. The dueling Kiriko ultimates inside of each other. One team's just trying to find the other. Bob is found out, just having that extra 6-man, trying to pile in some more damage, and it's going to work out for Professor Gibble as Wisp and Peace take down Benevolence and Kaleidoscope. Just resting on this point, just fighting this 5v3 now, wanting to clean this up. The Echo Duplement out of McMahon not going to be doing enough, and just found out in the air, and with no one to touch. Oh, maybe with a quick little touch, Professor Gibble is able to take out this first point.
Okay, a 0 to 99 City Center. That, I mean, also, if you want to like kind of argue here that both these squads are warmed up, so someone was missing the secret sauce in the situation, because that is not what I expected. I mean, Fable, that team we're very familiar with this squad, even outside of this broadcast and this tournament in particular. Professor Gibble, another squad we're very familiar with. I thought personally that this would be a lot closer for map 1. Granted, I could end up eating crows after this one, and we could see this equalize, and this one actually be very 99 to 99, as we have Hattori swapping over to that Sigma, but we have Avery instead going with the Ramatra pick, when earlier we rolled out on Sig. So I like the Ram pick. This is a very point-forward heavy composition. It's very punishable, but it's also very rewarding when done properly.
We're also seeing McMahon and Benevolence back onto, they're seeing more comfort picks of Pharah and Ashe respectively, and I think that's going to do a lot more for just making Fable comfortable in this matchup and fighting out this near Ditto a little bit stronger.
Well, Hattori is manages to land the rock onto one, but there's no follow-up. Is caught off guard as
Ooh,
we
they're
have
booked
Avery
in.
running in that Nemesis form, just pummeling damage. The immortality from Zepturn got forced. This could be a huge opportunity for Avery and company to push in.
That's exactly what we've seen from Fable this entire time too, just baiting in opponents quickly and trying to take them down. But Hattori didn't go down in that instance and is able to just clean up 2 of Fable's players, make that a 3rd. And just like that, Gibble is just able to take it over again, 10% and counting.
I love that Kaleidoscope is accusing Peace of being a fan. That is the copium I also like to go with too sometimes. But I mean, I just gotta give props to Avery after recognizing Hattori was trying to poke some damage on an off angle, just like 180ing and coming into that entire group in the middle of them, exploding it from the inside out. Not easy to accomplish. Definitely got to give props to the DPS for helping out Avery in that instance. But currently, point control is for Professor Gibble. We'll have to see if this continues in their favor. Wisp almost has this Bob. We've seen these powerful Bob plays, but Peace also has Barrage nearly online, and I'm excited to see the first Barrage of this map.
Have to see a Peace just building it up now alongside Wisps' Bob, but it doesn't even matter when Avery just gets found out that early. Peace almost finding out McMahon in the air, and the rest of the Gibble squad is there to clean it up. And before anything is really able to get going for Fable, that's another fight win for Gibble.
And Kaleidoscope hitting us with the little uwu face as we are looking down the barrel. Yeah. It could be the last fight in the situation. I'm glad we decided to swap off that POV. That was too much for my eyes.
Wisp,
we have 4 ults.
excuse
online.
me, Wisp, what is happening? They're just letting Wisp away with spin botting in the corner. That Bob is online. They want to just keep Fable as far away from point as possible. The beat has to be thrown in from Fiery as well. That means Hattori gets this long distance grab to clean up everybody else. My gosh, Nerdy, what are we watching?
Wisp is just having a little bit of a fun time. Did get eliminated, is choosing to swap over to that Symmetra to come in and just set up some point traps. Ooh. We see Peace also get eliminated. So if you're Professor Gibble squad currently, I think you're looking at just disengaging and trying to live. But Hattori said, Fiery, you're getting too close for comfort. You flew too close to the sun. I'm clipping those wings. We're trying to drop the Bob into point to help apply pressure from Fable squad onto Professor Gibble. But I honestly think that Bob wasn't warranted. But McMahon also decides to put a little more butter on top of that toast, goes for the Rocket Barrage, and gets punished by Wisps.
They went for so much there, but I think the integral part of that fight was that Hattori was stuck underneath the middle of the map for that entire time. They didn't need to throw as many ults as they had to. Peace coming around, throwing in their own barrage. It works out for them too. 2 picks on the board. They might just be able to flip this right back as soon as Fable takes it over. SK with the beat just for that extra assurance, pushing everybody off here as the rest of this overtime ticks down. McMahon won't be able to touch. Another quick little flash from Fiery in and out. But I think that's going to be wraps for this control. Professor Gibble taking game 1.
In a very heavy-handed fashion as well. I'm a little bit surprised. I'm going to continue to be surprised, but I guess, you know, map number 2 we'll have to see. It's going to be Wisps coming in with that POTG on the Ash. Most likely it's going to be one of these fabulous Bod plays. It's a Dynamite going through. They also get Dynamite themselves. No, it is a no ultimate necessary. Picking up a few themselves with help of their teammates, and Wisp getting that final headshot. Absolutely beautiful. But now we're moving on to what could theoretically be the last map of this matchup between Fable and Professor Gibble. With that in mind, Fable didn't pick it last time, but now it's their opportunity to actually pick the map themselves. Do you think we'll see a return of King's Row, or do you think we're going somewhere else?
I mean, it is possible, but just I have to kind of process everything that just happened in that first game because it felt like so much. There's so much that Fable needs to break down and try to reassess before they even start thinking about that next map. There's so many little timing issues, so many little targeting issues. As we mentioned, that Pharah is insanely oppressive out of Peace right now. The second you look away, they somehow built up their entire barrage and you're just getting 3 picks gone on the other side. I think they just need to try and find something that's most comfortable for them, not trying to counter Professor Gibble with any sort of Winston dive, and just be comfortable. And I'm excited to see what that is out of them.
In all honesty, so if we're trying to not match the Winston, just because of how City Center went, I think we avoid Hollywood. I feel like Hollywood is a very strong Winston map. Kings Row is a little bit more of a friendly platform. Midtown, if you want to roll out on the Sigma, go for it. I think Midtown is a very strong Sigma map. If you disagree with me, well, then you're disagreeing with a lot of other people.
Yeah, maybe have a quick look at the matches first.
Yeah. And then Eichenwald is also in the mix there, but I think, honestly, if we're just trying to play our own game, you go Midtown. Currently, if you're Fable. But, you know, I could be crazy. That could not be their comfort pick type of map, and they might want to just return to the Old Faithful for everyone, and that could be King's Row.
I think either of those 2 picks might be the way to go. Especially, we saw in the last set before Professor Gibble, Fable GG, Avery is an amazing Sigma player, winning out a lot of those duels, winning out those cooldown battles very, very well. So having something to kind of lean towards that a little bit more might be strong, but I can't get over how fast that was. I mean, like, we're only in a 1st to 2 today. We only have so much game to watch. I'd like to be able to sit down and enjoy the next map a little bit more, you know?
Yeah, but up to these players, I don't think they want to give us any sort of breathing room, and we just got confirmation as to what map we'll be going to, and it's no surprise to anyone involved in esports when it comes to Overwatch. We're going to Scrims Row for map number 2. This could be our final map of this matchup between Professor Gibble and Fable GG. The question is, Fable, are you going to fight back? Will you punch just as hard as you did during the previous series that we got to see you in? I mean, back-to-back caps with 5 minutes on the clock is absolutely massive, but will Professor Gibble let you get away with that? I don't know. I foresee we're going to see a change-up in our tank front line just a little bit. I don't think we're going to roll out on the Ramatra. Maybe we rolled on some bread and butter Reinhardt. I don't know. We could see, but I think Ram Rush still viable. But honestly, it's going to be up to these players. We could see something really creative. If I see a horse, I might cry. That's my only hope. Just don't show me the horse.
I don't think either of these teams really exactly want to play Orisa either. I mean, we are on Scrims Row. Why would you play Orisa now? Why ruin all of the fun, you know?
Okay, but there was a team back in the old days of Overwatch 1 who absolutely despised goats, and so they made a composition around Orisa called Clockwork that they ran specifically on King's Row. So theoretically, we could see the horse if you want to go for it, but Hitori and Avery are going to save us from that pain. They're going to go with the Sigma duels. Honestly, I think in the Sigma mirror, Avery is just a little bit more powerful. No, it did not come through on University. It definitely was a little bit painful, but I think it's because we started out on the wrong tank. I like Avery rolling out here on this Sig. I want to see this matchup. Also, are we finally going to get an actual Widowmaker, almost borderline insta-kill off a spawn? Will it be given to us, the gift of that insta-kill from Professor Gibble's team? Will it be Wisps to not burn 45 seconds on a Widowmaker on King's Row today?
Well, if anyone is to do it, I think it is Whiffs. I mean, they are absolutely amazing in all respects of the game. But flying out immediately, I mean, we're not seeing it right away. Fable GG seems to know that Whiffs is online with that, and they just switch off immediately. So no Widowmaker initial headshot for us right now.
I mean, Wisps, thank you for swapping off instantaneously, going for a little bit of poke damage. We see Avery get rocked, returns the rock in kind, but I don't think that second rock landed. We're going to play for time to get these cooldowns back. It's chilling out inside of Hotel, which is no, they're not getting pressured, so it was a good play as Milkman goes down.
Yeah, it's rough. Mickman and the rest of the squad just waiting on those cooldowns to come back, just taking a little bit too long. Professor Gibble forced everything out so fast and so quick that they're just able to aggress with no resistance. And just like we saw with Fable on the last set, it's Professor Gibble now that's going to take this point early.
Holy McNuggets, 5 minutes, 36 seconds on the clock. I think that it's close enough to what we saw from Fable earlier. Are we seeing the story rewritten with just new main characters? I don't know. Hopefully not. I want to see this extended a little bit. I'm on the same page as you, Suyu. I want to have a little bit of a longer map here, because if this is our last map, I want it to be fought tooth and nail. I want to see overtime as we're holding down the choke point currently outside of that first objective. Pharah will take a rock and disengage. No one is ready to drop an ultimate just yet, but Scepter in this amplification matrix could be a fight turner in favor of Professor Gibble.
We also have that Sigma Flux almost ready to go online. Professor Gibble is definitely up in terms of that ult economy right now. Just choked up on this initial choke. His Dynamite is down as well. Hitori wanted to poke out a little bit, but walks into a firing squad, gets melted immediately, and the rest of Fable is going to back up a little bit before they regress back on. They're just now swinging out. Avery is going into it. SK reads it early as Peace goes in trying to counter everything and finds two with a massive barrage. Fable had the lead in that one, but Gibble was able to turn that around without the full power of their tank there. Peace getting another amazing find onto Fiery and still living with their life, and that's half of this second point now in the bank for Professor Gibble.
Unfortunately, this is the Achilles heel of these Sigma compositions. Well, yes, they lost Hitori. They recognized, hey, we can spend an ultimate here and gain the advantage. Especially during the disengage from Fable, it telegraphs the fact that they don't have cooldowns. They have a very recognizable pattern. Most of these Sigma compositions will. That is why they could be a little bit aggravating to have to play around if you're not synced up. But syncing up makes you an easy target. Let's see, is it going to be an easy target for Bob, who's going to pull a bunch of attention as the Graphitic Flux is instigated, and we're forced to use Beat in response.
Oh, and the Bob comes in clutch as well, finding out Zep turn around the angle just barely, and that might be enough for Fable to put themselves back into position to hold this out, dig their cleats into this grass a little bit. They're walking back out. That initial pick from McMahon was absolutely massive, and they're finding out SK trying to flank around. Just a little bit too frivolous now. And there's slowly pick after pick, but the rest of Fable GG isn't looking too hot in terms of that life pool. Avery goes down, and so does Benevolence. Another reign of terror coming down from Peace before their life gets traded out. And we have been stuck up on this point for a second, but Professor Gibble, time and time again, is just finding these fight wins out of nowhere.
I think Peace's life literally just got saved by Lucio, or SK managed to put themselves in front of someone to say protect the president, but we are not giving up just yet on this objective. It is just Kaleidoscope there with a little bit of damage coming in from behind the suppressive fire, but that's Wisp picking up 2, and that should be point locked with 4 minutes in favor of Professor Gibble as they're engaging further forward, taking very advantageous positioning right now as Wisp's going unpunished. People are just afraid of this Ashe right now.
I mean, if I was playing in the Wisp too with the rest of this Gibble squad, I'd be a little bit afraid too. And that lets Professor Gibble throw in so many resources to keep Wisp alive. But Benevolence finally finding the headshot, body shot to finish that out. Avery's going to add on to that with the ultimate. Benevolence is using this as a training range, just getting all those shots off. And finally, a fight win for Fable GG.
Just choosing. Oh, Wisp is swapped over to the Widowmaker. I believe McMahon is well aware that there's a Widow swap. They definitely hit tab and are just waiting out for the opportunity for chaos to ensue, and then they can start doing a little bit more poke damage. We hear that headshot go through, but remember, there's a nerf on headshots on the tanks, so that's fun and enjoyable for any hit scan out there in the world as we're swinging this corner wide.
Oh, speaking of fun, that's gotta be fun. That's exactly what we were expecting to see out of Wisp on this Widow, just barely finding out Kaleidoscope's head and trying to find more as they're going uncontested up on this high ground. The rest of Fable's so busy just trying to save off the rest of Professor Gibble. It's not going to be enough. We're coming into the last bend of this point.
Look, whenever I see a Widow swap, I always tell my tank, hey, please ping that Widow off cooldown. I don't care who you're calling. Just ping the Widow so I don't die.
Dodge to keep Avery held up. Pieces on the other side of this spawn door to keep everybody else from walking through, and no one is even able to walk out of the spawn door. Professor Gable taking that with 2:40 on the clock.
Oh, this was hitting the Sochungus. I mean,
God.
okay, you've got a Sigma lifting on one side, and then you've got a Pharah rocket barraging on the other, and Immortality has not been popped from this Baptiste. Where do you go? The question is, you can't go any. Well, the response to that is you can't go anywhere. The only real thing you could do is try to get someone who's tiny enough to squeeze their way past either the Pharah, who's currently barraging, and live and touch the point. That is just a tough ask for anybody to try and do, and then you're getting body blocked by a Sigma on the other side. You're trapped. You are a rat in a cage.
Yeah, despite all their rage, you know. We're gonna hope that Fable has some life and still in them left. They're trying to stay all on these comfort picks. Avery is making us question the tank pick now, though, and I don't exactly like that. Avery's been the one consistent person that we know if they're picking something, they're locked onto it, but it's desperation time now, if anything. Is Roadhog even viable at this point?
I mean, I think Roadhog is, especially with that recent change with Pigpen, but I think into the composition Avery's going up against, not as much. I mean, if Wisp sees your Roadhog, playing from high ground, out of hook range. If Zepturn sees it, high ground, out of hook range. SK, I'm gonna bait the hook and then my team can go in. So that's where the question is. No, okay, Avery, I don't have any words for you because typically you've been very honest with your picks with me.
Well, they do swap back onto the Sig, so we're back to normal, just having that little bit of free fight flash. Benevolence is still staying on this Widow. No, everybody wants that Widow pick. Everybody wants to be the hero of the day. Not quite getting it yet, though. McMahon is sitting on that sliver of life as well. The rest of Fable just buying their time, trying to see if Benevolence can find something. I'm not sure if it's going to work out.
Honestly, I really liked Benevolence on the Ashe. I think it provides a little bit more oppressive damage and presence than the Widow does. I just think on this first point, people are no longer scared of that Widow. As we see Wisp on the Ashe taking out McMahon, And it looks like Fable, yeah, Malevolence is swapping over to the Ashes themselves. That's what I like to see. SK is going to get wave goodbye to Avery with a punch to the face. That's a full reset for Fable GG. Ultimate-wise, the only one we're really looking at right now is Zephyr. 60% on that amplification matrix already. That is a large cavern between Kaleidoscope and Zephyr. But I mean, when you are forced back into spawn, that's what happens. But the sync cooldowns from Hitori have already been used. This is a chance for Fable GG to gain some space.
You need to recognize this now, and they're starting to creep around. McMahon is swinging out wide, but a little bit too wide means that Zepturn is just able to mow them down, take them out of the sky, and the rest of Fable GG is just stuck up on these stairs. They're being sandwiched in once again, just open-faced. SK finding out that another quick little headshot, getting themselves back up on the board, and another incredibly fast fight win, plus a bit of a stagger from Avery. And just like that, another big fight win out of Gibble. They're up in ult economy. They're just up on everything right now.
I mean, when you've won 2 back-to-back fights, that's typically how it's going to go. I mean, SK's even going to walk back and pick up their her Baptiste and make sure Zepturn is here and ready to go. Amplification Matrix is going to be the first one to pop, but Peace! This is the scary part about the Lucio taxi in the current state of the game. You can't taxi and be playing forward at the same time. So now, SK, you must avenge your teammate, but Avery's going to fall first. Will we find the elimination? No, you're going to get booped off the high ground instead, because your boop just ain't powerful anymore.
At the very least, Hitori is able to win out that single Sigma Ditto on the low ground. This guy's going to throw down that beat piece as already back and takes out Kaleidoscope as an act of revenge. Plus has that Barrage online, just waiting for the next push out of Fable. My goodness, Hitori has been hitting the most insane rocks on the MIG-Man. That's going to seal them out as well. And they're just keeping it going. Throw in another Flux on top of everything. Throw in a Barrage. Might as well at this point. You're up with only 115 left to go. Have some fun, I guess.
Okay, but Barrage, Flux beat all expunged from Professor Gibble's squad. McMahon still has Barrage. We still have Flux from Avery. Fiery still has beat. We're going to instigate with this Bob from Wisp in conjunction with the lift on the other side. So SK falls, Wisp loses Bob, Hitori's eliminated. The only one to fall thus far for Fable is McMahon. And I think it was the over-egregious uses of ulting at the spawn door that was the Achilles heel in this fight.
Oh, 100%. Professor Gibble just wanted to have a little bit of fun, touch spawn door, and just say a quick little GG before all of that happens. But at the same time, they're still coming back with speed. They're not just letting go of this. They've come back onto the ball with SK speeding in Hitori, and they're just taking this back quick. Pieces there to clean up from the skies. And all of a sudden, on a new look tank and Wisp switching over to the Genji, we're right back to where we started. One tick on the board for Fable, but that's it with 15 seconds left to go.
It's like Professor Gibble's squad just said, hey, I wanna swap to Genji Wrecking Ball. And they're like, okay, use your ult at the front door. But Avery's also swapped over to this Doomfist, and we have Benevolence going over to this Tracer as well. This is a touch and go, very get a foothold on the point, back off, get an elimination, try to reconvene on the point again as we lose McMahon for Fable GG. That's most of our damage gone, and Avery with the pile driver also falling.
That's just too much damage happening in too many parts of the map for any part of Fable to sustain, and a full hold just about for Professor Gable will give them the series 2-0.
I think we're about to see a Peace POTG coming in. I think it's gonna be the one right around Bookstore after they lost their
Oh,
no,
my
it's
goodness.
Benevolent. I am pleasantly surprised.
And the Battle Pass skin too.
I am fine being wrong in this instance. Though Benevolence, you did get a POTG during our last during one of the other maps, so it's good to share the love around. But this was some skeet shooting happening with that Graphitic Flux coming online. But honestly, Suyu, do you have any final words? And I'll say the one between the two of us that I think is very obvious. We wish that would have gone a little bit longer. But beyond that, what are your thoughts about that game?
I mean, it's just a tough one if you're Fable GG. It's so incredibly difficult. I mean, we've seen this Gibble squad so many times. We see them be so unbelievably good in so many facets of the game. Even when Avery is firing on full cylinders, going absolutely ham with the Sigma, they're just being countered out by Hitori again and again. It feels like everything that Fable had, Professor Gibble just had a little bit more of, and they just started having fun with it at the end. I'm very impressed that they were able to come back and reaggress with the ball so much and so fast as well. Just an incredible showing out of them.
I thought the silliness that occurred at the spawn door during the second half of the game would have been their undoing.
I thought that was the whole point. I thought they wanted to give up that 1 point, but
yeah.
I don't
I don't
know.
know. They decided to get a little funky with it, but they knew they could come back and still control the objective. It got close. They got a little. They almost did a little too
They
much
were
of a
so
silly.
close. Just a
But
bit of a silly.
at the end of the day, it ends up being Professor Gibble to move on and move forward. And before you and I say goodbye, I think we want to take a quick look at those brackets one last time, if we can have that opportunity, just to show how things went today for anyone who joined a little bit late, where things are going to be going on later. You can see Valentine will move on in the 2-0 victory. They're going to be facing up against that Professor Gibble squad. And then down in our, I call this the redemption bracket because it is double elimination. Blue Rose lost to the Transformer squad we had earlier, and then they ended up taking down Inarizaki, which also is the squad that lost to Valentine. Actually, no, that's going to be happening later. So one of those teams will go on to face Andromeda Equinox, and then someone has their redemption arc and is ending up going into those grand finals from that lower area. I don't know who it's going to be, but right now, for later, I'm excited to see how this Professor Gibble squad posts up against Valentine. I don't have a lot of details on the Valentine squad, so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes, but across the board, I think this was a very exciting day. I am happy we didn't see Maga. Personally.
I'm very happy about it as well. For as much as we wanted to talk about Maga and just hopefully protect him coming in, it didn't happen. And I think it made these games very, very fun. We saw at least 4 different tanks, a lot of different small compositional changes between both of these teams. It made it very exciting.
Yeah, actually, there's another caster in this entire broadcast series that will be on later, Loki. I'm in a server with them who said to our other tank, I hope you enjoy Maga, have fun, and I felt so bad when Loki said that. So Loki, I hope later you get to suffer having to deal with a lot of Maga gameplay and no variation on the tanks. But for me, I was satisfied. There was a lot of different tank gameplay. I don't know if there was an agreement or just people just aren't liking the Maga in the current state of the game and just know that, like, if you go Maga, you are cheesing it to the core and it's disrespectful. If we stick with that mentality for the remainder of this entire tournament, fine with that. But I mean, I'm satisfied. My hunger for some Overwatch gameplay was satiated, but I do believe that is all you and I will be doing today for this broadcast, right?
Yeah, that's going to wrap it up for us, but very exciting slate of games, and there are definitely more games happening throughout the weekend. We have multiple brackets. We have so many star-studded teams, just like the ones that we had just now. Stick around for the rest of this weekend. Man, I'm really enjoying watching those.
All right, but from the two of us for now, goodbye, and have a good rest of your day, and hopefully you enjoy some Overwatch yourselves at some point, and take care.
Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. I don't know what you want. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yours. Yeah. 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 Memories. Memories. Yeah. Memories. Memories.
everybody, and welcome to the third match of the day for our Kunoichi Krush. I am joined by Toasty, I am Loki, and we have got a great match lined up for you right now. It is going to be the ever wonderful Fable up against Andromeda Equinox. Toasty, how are you feeling about this one?
It's going to be a good one, I think. Fable coming off of a loss, unfortunately, against Professor Gibble, but hopefully going to come back and revitalize themselves to make a loser bracket run here. And like I say, this is an elimination match. Whichever team loses here goes out of the tournament. So this is for all the marbles in the lower bracket at the very least. And Fable GG definitely don't want to keep a loss streak going here. They want to gain some momentum, get into things with some gust.
Yeah, especially coming after that loss, which, in my opinion, a little bit of a surprising loss, 0-2 against Professor Gibble, which even Andromeda taking a loss, we would generally expect them to be able to take a map off the other team. Not the case there. So Fable GG coming off of a disappointing, I would say, performance with that. Good chance to bounce back here, get themselves going, and try and get into that top 4 tomorrow. This will be the last match of the day for either team. If you win, we get to see you on Championship Sunday. If you lose, we will see you in the next Kunoichi tournament, hopefully, because your run here will be over. As you can see, Andromeda dropped down to Valentine, another great team. We saw them yesterday. Not going to take a ton from Andromeda's performance off of losing to Valentine. Valentine's a really, really strong team, as you can see from that bracket there. So both of these teams with a little bit of a question mark from their last performances. Andromeda as an unknown, Fable as a kind of what happened to get us here. But with that, we can take a little bit of a look at these rosters for you. We're going to take a look at Fable up first. We got McMahon, Benevolence, Avery, Fiery, and Kaleidoscope for that roster for you there. Big people to look out for. Avery, one of the best tanks in all of Calling All Heroes, not just this tournament here. Yep. They have been consistently putting up performances. The other one, Benevolence, a hit scan that is oh so consistent. They are always showing up, always hitting their shots, and that was actually a little bit of the problem last match, is they weren't able to get Benevolence fully up and going. On the other side, we've got Andromeda Equinox. Big people to look out for there is Grim, that tank. We are in a tank meta, and this should be a good tank matchup for you. Grim has been around since forever in this level, and they are showing up very, very well. And on the other side, Kaori backing them up on that DPS line. Going to be very, very important. You can't have a tank without a good support, and Kaori definitely fits the bill for that needed support.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Andromeda Equinox here, they're going to be looking towards Grim and Kaori, that duo, like you say, to bring them a win here potentially. I think going against Avery is definitely going to be a trial by fire here. It's going to be very difficult to win against them. But if you have the support from your backline, I think Dr. Grim can make it happen. She is quite good, maybe not as good as Avery on a mechanical level, but it all does come down to the synergy, how you play around the opposition, and having come off of a loss, Fable might be just a little bit disjointed, might not have that, coherent team play, might take a bit to warm up and get back into things, and I think Andromeda need to take advantage of that.
Yeah, I mean, Andromeda's going to have to come out of the gate swinging. This is still just a first to 2 at the end of the day, so not a ton of time to really figure it out. You're going to have to get on control and get moving very, very fast. Our first map actually is going to be Nepal as well, which we've seen some interesting things happen on Nepal in this new meta, this new tank focused meta. We've seen a lot of teams still running that Sigma. Fable especially seemed very, very merry to that Sigma yesterday. And it didn't quite give them the performance they want to. Sigma, still a good tank, but on Nepal, a map that asks you to brawl a little bit more, sometimes seems to struggle a lot there. So maybe we'll see an adjustment today going into this one. It's a hard time to make changes this close to a patch.
Yeah, it's funny actually you mentioned the brawling on the pool, because what we actually saw in the previous game from Fable on King's Row, the map they lost on, was a lot of brawling. They were playing Bap Lucio with the Sigma, which is fair enough, right? Your engages, your disengages, the versatility of being able to play that Lucio, the sound barrier in case of a flux, like all these good things, but it's also the capability to turn a poke fight into a hard engage rush fight when there has been buffs to Sigma's accretion, and you're able to play versatile and switch it up on your opponent just on a dime like that. And I think that was probably where Fable kind of dropped the ball a bit. They weren't able to keep up with that kind of tempo. It raises the question of whether they'll continue with the Lucio today. I think they probably will. And if they do, they really need to keep up the tempo and make sure they're not just getting run around in circles.
Yeah, I mean, I think basically everything at this point has leaned towards Brawl.
Yeah.
We got like a really, really strong poke phase that goes into a Brawl. And that poke phase is less poke and more laning, where you're trying to get those DPS set up into position where they can take a fight against the DPS, set up on an angle, and actually get onto the other team in some way, shape, or form. And the reason why Sigma's been so good up until now is because they're so good in that laning phase, and then they can have a good enough Brawl phase where they can take attention, keep themselves alive, and support themselves. Let the supports do a little bit of damage during that time. Let them look at their, DPS more than the tank. So Sigma's found a lot of success in that style. The question is now, in this current meta, does he do enough as a primary threat? Like, tanks got such a huge buff on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like the biggest thing we've ever seen for tanks. And it's taken them from a supporting role a lot more into that main stage primary threat type of style. Yeah. In my opinion, I don't know if Sigma provides enough in that role. He's a great enabler. He's great at denying. He's not great at being the superstar.
Yeah, and you know what I think you're hinting at a little bit here, Loki, and maybe it's through personal bias. Maybe a little bit of that Mauga. It is Nepal. It is a brawly map. We could see the Mauga be pulled out here. We shall see in just a couple of seconds. I think Fable looking a bit weak on that Sigma on King's Road, but ends up locking it off the start here. Andromeda doing the exact same as well. I think Kaori will probably swap over to that Lucio. I don't expect to see an Alari here. It would be a welcome change of pace, but I think it'll be a mirror matchup. The Ashe, the Pharah are so good at setting up crossfire angles and putting pressure on so many different spots on the map that you're just going to end up playing Ashe, Pharah, probably put a Lucio in there for your engage and disengage.
I actually love the Alari. I think you can set up a really great core with it, and they are sticking on it as well. You put that Ashe, Baptiste, Alari together, there is never going to be any death coming from that. You are such a strong core, and you're going to need a strong core to deal with Nick, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, look at the aggression from the start here. I mean, Avery just trying to force resources onto Dr. Grimm, finds the kill off the start. And to be fair, like, there was no ability to disengage there, and that's what I don't like about this Alari. You could have gotten out if you were Dr. Grimm, if you had a Lucio, but unfortunately not. Fiery ends up speed boosting in. Avery gets space and wins the fight off that.
Yeah, that's the disadvantage you take, is you're going to get everywhere. Second, you don't have a good escape. You have to fight for your space, and right there, Andromeda just not set up to fight for it. Here, we're going to see them trying to come in. This comp from Andromeda is going to have a lot harder time taking this space than they will keeping it. So it's going to be interesting to see how they tackle this problem. Looks like they're tackling with a Pharah on a really hard off angle.
Oh, okay. An aggressive peek there from Mickman. Ends up getting punished for it now, as Pressure is going to start making some progress, getting over the top as well, putting pressure on the back line, but they disengage that Lucio. Again, the versatility showing here a little bit. Avery playing it slow, waiting for the respawners. The point cap could potentially flip over here, but now that the Pharah of Mickman has returned, it's evened up, and look at the aggression of Avery just forcing themselves onto Dr. Grimm, half HP. Kaori has to now put resource into that, try and get some healing through. Benevolence does go down, nice shot coming through there. Immortality Field is invested here by Whipped, though, trying to use the Night Matrix to even it up, but Grimm falls, no longer a tank on board, and that should be a team fight conversion here for Fable.
Looks like it. And we saw there, as these fights go on, Andromeda starts to get more and more resources their way. They start to set up even more. You can get your Alari set up on a nice strong angle there, take down Ben. Everything's looking great. Problem is, Avery is just too good. They see the vision there and are able to find kind of the rock, paper, scissors of the Sigma matchup in order to get through Dr. Grimm, even with the window supporting Grimm, not going to be able to stay alive, as Avery right now is just looking insane on this Sigma.
Oh, Nice rock on the Pharah in the air there as well. Doesn't matter, Avery caught out in a bad position in a three-way crossfire as that Bob is now sent onto the point just to try and stall it out a little bit more. 99% would be amazing here, but with a kill onto Pressurer, you're looking for a little bit more if you're Fable. The Sunstrike is going to come through here. Doesn't actually make any contact, it just allows flight for the Alari, but that works out as the kill comes through onto Kaleidoscope. A barrage from Mickman in response removes a Sigma, removes the Ash, and now things are going to start flipping straight back over for Fable as Andromeda need to scramble back onto the point.
Andromeda's got to get it quickly. They're going to have a little bit of a touch from that Pharah, but for how long is it going to be? Not very. Instantly gone. And just like that, Fable takes it. I love having this core. I think it's really, really great. Problem is, we're playing control. And so you've got to get in. You have to be quick. The rotates have to be clean. And you saw a lot of the problem there that Andromeda was having was even when they got into advantage, they looked incredibly clean. They had no way to capitalize off of it. Like when Grim pushed W, they got caught out all on their Lissum by themselves, nothing to help them out, because that core just simply can't rotate fast enough to meet up. And Andromeda now seems to recognize that that's not going to be the winning strategy of the day. Kiroi back onto that Lucio as neither team willing to switch off of the Sigma. Fable, actually there it is, I was going to say, Fable struggled really hard yesterday in running the Sigma on this point. They've opted to let it go and get back onto this Junker Queen, and this is who we saw absolutely run through Fable yesterday, so let's see if it can work for him here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Avery on this Junker Queen is going to have so much more tempo than the Lucio already provides. I mean, Andromeda have made the adaptation. They've gone over to a Lucio of their own, but it's just going to get outpaced by a Junker Queen and Lucio combo. The Kiri as well provides a good bit of utility. I mean, look at the angles being taken here. Andromeda taking pressure all over the place, and a nice boop comes through there to catch out Kaori. Now in the backline, Mickman going to look for a couple more, but with point presence, I don't think you really need to get greedy.
No, I mean, especially with this JQ, you want Andromeda to have to walk into. This Sigma not great at taking space, really good at keeping it. Meanwhile, you're running a JQ, probably one of the better brawl tanks to hit in rotation. So if you can just hold this choke, it's going to be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And look at the pressure just to force Dr. Grim back into that choke. And this is the thing, if you can take engages like that where you force support resource from Andromeda, you're just going to have a great time if you're Avery. You're going to be able to sustain a lot more than that Sigma can. And now it's going to be an aggressive push here with the Am Matrix from Whip, just trying to get some damage in. Barrage, though, comes in from the back. Mickman finds Whipped. Good trade there, a support for DPS, but Pressure trades it back out onto Avery, and that is exactly what you needed, removing the stable part of that composition. Benevolence with a nice consolation shot, but it doesn't matter. Cap's going to come through here for Andromeda.
Yeah, great reaction by Grim there as well to see the Pharah positioning for it. The moment they dash in, Grim's already swapped around. They've got the suck ready to go. And Avery there with not willing to let their Pharah go in alone, overextends to try to help him out. That just leads to both Mickman and Avery falling. So now Andromeda gets to be set up in the position they want to be, just holding this space, able to poke this team in and try to force a bad rotation in from Fable now.
Yeah, oh, Kaleidoscope. Caught out earlier there by Reality on the Ash. The Pharah as well goes down. Pressure executing that kill with the help of Reality. And that's a clean teamfight win right there. I'm not sure about the Rampage investment there. It does manage to hit 3 with the anti, but literally no one is there to follow up. Benevolence can get like a couple of shots. It just does not matter. Kaleidoscope goes down, and that is it. Maybe a bit of a wasted Rampage there, but I see the swap.
Well, yeah, I think they were just like, I'm going to swap anyways, might as well send it, see what we can do. Not happening there for them. Kaleidoscope there, getting caught out early is so brutal. If you're a Kiriko, you have to teleport across that rotation because it's just so easy to spam you out, exactly like they do there. Mickman here on a really strong off angle, though. So a contest has to come through, but Benevolence is going to take advantage first.
Yeah, really good play there from Benevolence, showing up unlike the previous match. The Flux does come through, but a beat is there in time from Fiery to counter it out. Mickman gets a kill onto their counterpart, and that's exactly what you need to make this cap happen. Gonna flip it back over, turn it into 2-fight territory.
I really like these hard off angles that Mickman keeps going on, because what it does is it takes the other Pharah away from their support line. It forces a pure 1v1 between the Pharahs, and McMahon's shown time and time again, they're able to win those 1v1s. And with that, they're able to lane that so incredibly well. They can get the kill onto Pressurer, and then McMahon is absolutely free to find all the damage they could ever want. Pressurer wants to take this fight again, though. Hasn't worked out for him so far, but McMahon maybe looking to deny that to start off here.
Yeah, Pressurer really wants to play aggressive into McMahon just to prevent the pressure that Pharah can bring, but with it being last fight territory, a play has to be made at some point here. Andromeda, they're going to play it patient, and Pressurer is going to take a wide angle here, potentially even looking for a touch of their own as that barrage comes through from McMahon to engage. It's now returned by Pressurer, but that grasp is perfectly timed by Avery to completely shut it out. Benevolence from the top ropes, finding 2 kills to clean it all up, and Fable will take the first map quite dominantly there.
Yeah, looking incredibly strong, and they're not showing up a ton in the kill feed right now, but I really want to continue to give attention to Avery here in this matchup. You can see the pacing they're putting out, how strong it is, how much they're able to consistently shut down the DPS from Andromeda right now, and that's absolutely what we want to be looking for. Sigma has fully come into his own as a denial tank. He is here to say no to everything you want to put out, and right now Avery is doing a great job of just denying anything that Equinox wants to put out. A great showing on the JQ as well, showing that flexibility. It would go over, hit and rotate, be very, very strong there. I think the swap on the Sigma, just because once you lose point, it gets a little bit harder to break through that Sigma comp without your own Sigma to help you out on the rotation. So smart for them there to get that swap, but Avery right now is just looking so clean against Grim, and it's making it incredibly easy for McMahon and Benevolence to find their angles and find their lanes.
Yeah, and it really makes you wonder, like, why Fable lost their previous match. They were looking extremely good there, and it felt like they had a real grasp on both the meta, how to play it, how to play into their opposition. And I think that all comes maybe from Avery's shot calling on the tank, right? A lot of the time, Avery was the one taking these aggressive plays, whether it was called by the Lucio speed boosting or Avery themselves. Doesn't matter, because either way, the team play is there, and being able to out-rotate is just a crucial part of this meta, both for the purpose of getting angles, but also the purpose of having the opportunity to rush in if you need to and advance on a kill, because a lot of the time in this meta you will just get Sigma shielded if someone is low, and you can just recuperate and regenerate your Sigma shield and, you know, rotate that over and over again. But if you can rush in and really bring the heat to the opposition, that's what you want to see.
Yeah, and I mean, this Fable team has been together since forever. They probably don't even have to calm, hey, I'm going in right now. All they got to do is Avery steps forward, everyone else knows exactly what's happening, they all know the timing, they've all got it locked down, which is going to be especially useful on a dive map like Hollywood, which is going to be our map 2. Requires so much chemistry. We saw Hollywood a little bit yesterday, really knocking down those teams that are a little bit new, these pug teams that formed right before a tournament so they could be here, which, love having you. Hollywood makes it hard to be that kind of team, because it just requires so much chemistry and knowledge of your teammates in order to pull off these comps appropriately. Even if you're not running the dive, you need to be locked in step on all of your rotates, all of your ult usage. You know, do we want to hold this point? Where are we taking our fights? It requires a lot. Look, I love Hollywood, an objectively terrible map. Like, it doesn't work in Overwatch. It doesn't work in Overwatch 2 without an off tank to help cover things. Like, third point is basically free. Second point is ridiculous to try and control that high ground. An objectively terrible map. And I love it for that, because it shows us these teams trying to work through the problem of square peg into round hole, and oftentimes they do it by having just more coordination and more strength in the other team. Fable here is rolling out on that dive. They're going to be going with the Diva, who has had their perma DM evolve into an infinite DM that can never go away. Meanwhile, Graham locked in on the Winston, which I love Winston right now. I think he is absolutely wonderful on a lot of these maps. I'm surprised to see the Ana Brig come out for Equinox rather than that core they were running earlier, because they already shown that they're comfortable running the Olari Baptiste core. Surprised we don't see it now as a result of that, but it looks like they want to go with a little bit more of a complete dive than really relying on that core that they had earlier. Meanwhile, Fable has been on the Widow, and y'all get ready because this will be a show.
Missed it. Well, not a missed shot, but a missed headshot at least there. Benevolence.
Hey, you gotta let the first song get played. You gotta give it time to warm up.
Yeah, you know, your first game on Widow, it's fine. You get time to warm up here, Benevolence, and I do like this Widowmaker because it's just going to control this entire space like that. Pressurer just tries to challenge the Widowmaker, say, you know what, you can't hit your shots, and Benevolence says, you know what, I can. And that's exactly what you want. You want to be able to control all of that airspace that Mickman can then take for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, it just removes Mickman from this game, because if you're playing Echo, you have to go over that building right there. That is the lane that you have to play as Echo here. But it's right in this Widow line of sight, so unless Reality can try to get around here and start putting pressure on Benevolence, Pressure is just going to have no good way to get in any of these dives. There it is again.
Yep, bonked away. Pressure goes down the second time to Benevolence, and this is the thing, you cannot peek for a second against this Widowmaker, especially at such higher level, and it's just going to give so much space and attention away from the front line that Avery and Mickman can just run wild.
Yeah. I mean, once you don't have an Echo pumping in damage, who does the damage on this team for Andromeda? It's just Echo. You've got Winston and Tracer here for kill confirms. Your Honor Brig isn't doing damage. It has to come from your Echo, and it's just not.
Yeah, and I think this will come from a bit of teamwork here. You need Reality to coordinate pressure onto Benevolence at the exact same time you dive in. But Pressurer is getting pressured out by Avery here on the sidelines as well, and that gives Mickman the chance to kill off Reality. Sure, Pressurer trades out, finds Kaleidoscope, and the backline gets blown up. Benevolence not so lucky this time to be able to get a quick kill. And that is what you want. You want to just gun for the backline. You want to have some sort of pressure on that Widowmaker to pull the attention away. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Good rotation there by Pressure to help set that up. It made Avery peel off of that kind of deny bit that they're in. But we're going to see a quick touch here back from Fable. They're not willing to give it up.
Yeah, duplication from Mickman there just to try and stay alive and get a bit more of a touch onto the point. I don't really think it was worth a nano boost, a duplicate investment into a fight that's probably going to get lost here. I think just stalling some time would have been worth it. You do kill off Cowrie, but I don't think Benevolence is going to get much more than that.
Yeah, that's going to be all she wrote for point number 1, but not a bad defense for Fable there. They're still on pace on Hollywood. Generally, you want to take about 2 or 3 fights, and that's exactly what they got. So here, now we get into the problem of second point, where you're trying to control that high ground. Defense, obviously, huge defender's advantage with that high ground. You can see Andromeda are now rushing to try and take it, because they know that we have to hold this for as long as possible, try and get anything from this, and so far they're doing a pretty good, okay job, but now that all the Fable is here and ready to go, this is where we're going to see the second point of Streets get decided.
Yeah, it's all about this high ground here, and Avery is going to do so well at controlling it because of that Matrix. The Winston really can't do much in terms of denying that space that the Diva can. You get the rally in the backline here to try and bulk up a little bit, deal with Avery, but that's just going to draw attention away from Dr. Grimm, who is pressuring out in the backline, to be fair. Pressurer finding that first kill, Cowrie taking out Avery after that bomb. And I think that's about as well as that teamfight could have gone for Andromeda there. Getting a backline dive, Avery's distracted, dealing with the backline himself, and now you just get the cleanup coming through. Fiery, trying to go in on their own, taken down.
At what point do we need Benevolence to swap? Like, look, I love the Benevolence Widow. We saw it great on point 1. Here, though, point 2, which is supposed to be a huge hold for the defense, has just been ran through because it's just not consistent enough against this high-flying dive.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you've not only got one monkey, you've got 2. You've got Pressure in the backline here, trying to get into onto the Ana. And while all that's happening, Reality is free to just roam around, get 2 kills in the midst of all that, and the cap comes through, right? Like, it's that easy. And I think the Widowmaker here just is not providing the value we saw before. A Tracer to mark Reality would be great here, or even just follow up on Avery's dives.
I think, yeah, I'm going to go with the position that there's just a little bit too much chaos going on for the Widow to set up a clean sightline. And now we're on third, which, Jesus, 3 minutes on that clock. This is going to be a huge time break if Andromeda can keep this pace up. Benevolence on the Ashe now to try and provide a little bit more damage for this dive. Avery on the Winston has not been looking like they want to, and this dive is already here.
Yep, McMahon coming back into their own there, finds Pressurer the same way they were on that Pharah in the first map. Coming back into it here, trying to find Reality as well, caught out by that Ashe. And now, this Ashe, a bit more versatile, a bit more constant damage over the course of the team fight, I think is much better.
Yeah. I mean, any sort of high damage is going to work really, really well in this defense, especially when you have the Monkey to go in, confirm these kills. Echo is great as spam and that kill confirm with that stickies in the beam. So Fable right now looking as a much more cohesive composition, but Reality shuts them down.
Reality says, you know what, Benevolence, I'm playing the Widowmaker now. I control this game. Dove in the backline there by Avery Shaw, and McMahon finds Pressurer. In fact, that actually turns things around. We got too hyped over that kill, I think, because 1 kill is not enough to win a team fight.
I mean, Nano Monkey's just mean, is really what it is.
Yeah.
Like, Nano Monkey is just so hard to deal with so much of the time. It's a fight-winning ultimate there, so Fable looking good, only using that to get the fight win. Benevolence now has waved the white flag on that Ashe as well onto the Tracer themselves, so we're going to see a Reality Benevolence 1v1 battle here as they try to fight for that. We are mirrored on either side of these compositions.
Yeah, a complete mirror, but the ult advantage is there for Andromeda. They should be able to snowball this into a 3rd point cap with a bit of time remaining. They nano boost the Echo, just trying to blow up the backline here, and is actually succeeding. The focusing beam comes through to confirm that kill, and even though McMahon trades it out in the end, that is still going to be payload progress.
Yeah. I mean, both of these teams now are on the style of wanting to trade backlines. They want to just kill the other team's backline faster. Anything you can do to make that happen is great. They had used the Nano there to keep their Echo alive, but I don't know that they're really going to complain after a resort like that. And now Grim has the perfect counter dive, but this cart's still going.
Absolutely, and the problem here for Fable is that you want this rally online, you want the anti-dive potential, but it's not online just yet, and now you're getting juggled about by a Winston 94% for that rally, just barely not getting it in time, and Andromeda running circles around Fable, a pulse bomb thrown in there by Benevolence to try and clutch this out, and to be fair, McMahon finds Whipped, but it isn't enough. You can't just take down one player and expect it to win a team fight there, as a completion comes through for Andromeda. 40 seconds on the clock. That's pretty good for Hollywood standards.
Yeah, if I'm Andromeda, I am not complaining about that at all. We're used to seeing that cap in overtime, if anything. So very, very good showing by Andromeda here, and you gotta start to wonder what's going on with Fable here. This has been the team that's been showing up, that's been competing, that's been winning everything up until this point, and this is not what we expected. Even after that first control, Fable looked so completely in control of everything. But as we go into Escort here, as we go into this dive, as we shift away from Sigma, Fable really seems to be struggling with that change. I mean, this is like nothing against Andromeda. I love Andromeda, great team. My team scrim against them all the time, but this is not what we expected.
Yeah, Fable looked good in the first map on a composition, or compositions, that I think they're really comfortable on. I'm not saying that Avery, for example, is not comfortable on the Diva or a Winston, or perhaps the backline isn't comfortable on a Brig. It's nothing to do with that. It's just to do with the playstyle they have. It's Andromeda recognizing that Avery plays aggressive, and that there is no support there because McMahon is constantly having to peel. I think you need to either hard commit if you're Fable, or just play defensive and wait for your opportunity.
Well, as we get started now, both teams still locked in on that same thing. Only difference is Ben back on that Ashe without a Widow contestant. Maybe a little bit more space to make it work.
Yep, potentially. I like this Ashe versus this Tracer, especially when you get high ground. It's not happened quite yet, though, as Avery again goes aggressive in the backline, leaving their own open. But they hold their own just for now. Fable now coming back into it, pressuring out Dr. Grimm as another backline dive here comes through from Avery. What does this Brig do other than get support from their own Ana? And that allows Dr. Grimm to go down. That is what you need right there, a coordinated dive. and Benevolence finds Pressure looking for a kill onto Reality as well, hits him with a dynamite, forcing them out, and you should at least get 2 ticks here potentially for Fable if there is no stall. However, Reality wants to change that.
Yeah, there is a chance. There's a good chance here they can come back in. Graham set up for it. Looks like that second tick is going to get through as everyone's waiting for it. But with no ults to retake now for Andromeda, you've got to be worried.
No, dive comes through there from Dr. Grimm, but baited in. Hit with the anti, forced to disengage, and now Fable just recuperate and wait for this nano boost to come online. A little bit early dive here from Avery, but it's just pressuring out the backline, taking that resource away. Dr. Grimm again getting bursted down, 1 HP there, finally gets a pack from the Brig, but Cowrie dies in trying to peek that, and now it's up to Avery to fend off these 2 squishies in the back, trying to confirm this teamfight win, and that will be it with the Primal there. The nano-boosted Winston is nothing compared to the Primaling one, as Dr. Grimm pops one of their own, but it's a 1v3, and it's just not going to work out.
Not quite there. This core from Fable right now looking so incredibly strong. The reason I like it so much is because you can get the benefit of having that extra damage diving in with your monkey because of that dynamite, but you still have the damage there to protect your core, and Dr. Grimm is having such a hard time breaking through that damage. Avery is getting set up on every single dive they're going in due to that dynamite that Benevolence is hitting every time, but Dr. Grimm is having to dive into 3 people that have very, very large hateful emotions for that monkey.
Oh, yeah, and same can be said for Avery here, but almost finds the Brig, forces them away with the rally. A nano boost for a rally trade here, and look, that's good. Fiery has one of their own, and there's still no nano boost for Whipped. I think you like that trade if you're Fable, and you take advantage of that entirely. Mickman and Benevolence just take cross angles, and they converge on that backline exactly how you should, as Dr. Grimm just doing a bit of stalling alongside Reality. Trying to burn away some time, but it doesn't matter, and this payload will keep moving with a potential stagger here as well.
Yeah, I think Reality here is going to be able to set up that really strong off angle, so maybe we see them come in mid-fight. They don't quite have the pulse bomb to make full use of the ambush, but maybe charge it up sometime through. But the big note, though, Benevolence, Bob ready to go. The Echo also there. Almost 4 ults up now for Fable.
Yeah, poor Benevolence uses the dynamite and gets it blocked by a bubble. Brig comes in here, actually. The duplicated Brig. Pressure trying to build up towards this rally. Maybe get some defensive presence online just in the nick of time as well to make up for losing Whipped on support here. Avery has Primal and is just pummeling the backline. Kaleidoscope actually is the one to kill off Dr. Grimm as well. And this should be a teamfight win for Fable. Invested quite heavily into it, I might say. 4 ultimates of their own.
Yeah, I mean, not going to complain, though. Get to third, 4 minutes. You're ahead of pace compared to Andromeda now. So looking very, very strong is Fable. They have that nano still online. Did a great job that last fight as well, protecting fire. You saw Avery there perfectly sliding in with the bubble just in the nick of time to get pressure out. And Andromeda now going with the full switch. Reality needs to shut down Benevolence on this Ashe. Benevolence has been the reason why Dr. Graham hasn't been able to get anything done. Pressure as well looking to get on that backline and fight out Benevolence as Mickman going to mirror the change onto Tracer.
Yeah, Mickman and Pressure at the Tracer duel, but also Reality on the Widow here. It's going to be very tricky to play around, but you've got Avery to dive if you need to. Dr. Grimm doing a bit of poking and prodding of their own. They have the Primal online, so they're going to go aggressive knowing they have that get out of jail free card. They're going to use it right now. Stop pummeling in, batting everyone around as that nano boost comes through here onto the Brig. Raid boss moment. It's not going to get too much done, to be fair, other than fend off Dr. Grimm. A Primal for a nano boost there as Whipped has one of their own ready to go in this fight. Avery's just going to take some time to stabilize in the side room, though. Out of line of sight of their supports. Almost gets converged upon there, but manages to peek out, put some pressure on Dr. Grimm, who is nano boosted up and back into things. But they just dive out. They don't want anything to do with this. Fable can't make any progress, though.
No, they're stuck here, draining time, but ults are charging. Look at this. Monkey about to be up. Rally as well to push the team in, and Benevolence constantly charging. They're going to hit these marks a little bit before Andromeda will, especially with that Primal, and his Grimm is 1 health. This is the perfect time to go in.
Yeah, and with this Primal rally trade, you can be able to bat around this Brig, deal with the backline. And again, at the exact same time, Mickman bursts down Dr. Grimm. I cannot keep saying this, but every time Avery dives in, Dr. Grimm gets bursted down. That is the team play you need for Fable. And despite, a slight ultimate disadvantage with that primal into a rally, it deals with both supports at the same time and allows for Dr. Grimm to go down. And I love the way that Fable are playing this monkey composition. They've really started to figure out Andromeda in the fact that they're not as strong defensively.
Well, I love the awareness that Avery has in those moments as well, where they see, hey, Grimm is super low. I can trust my team to go deal with that. I can go after the backline now. In this case, if I remove the backline, Grimm's definitely going to die. Grimm can't counter dive me because he's so low, meaning I can get onto the backline for free. And we see where a lot of tanks would hyper focus on that low target right in front of them, that low tank target right in front of them, where you need to get that tank diff. Instead, Avery has the awareness, has the knowledge to trust in their DPS and their backline to finish the job, finish the fight, and Avery can go forward and continue to push that advantage. Great awareness by this tank to continue to set these plays up. Now, almost 3 times the amount of time on the clock for Fable as Andromeda. Andromeda here pulling out the same thing they've done before. Fable has gone away from the Widowmaker to this Ashe that they found a lot more success on than they did before. And so both of these teams knowing one good fight is all that's really on the table. Once you get past that, anything is either extra for Andromeda or closing it out for Fable. As time already ticking away, as Andromeda really slow to get this rotate and fight set up.
Just playing it very patiently at the minute. They know it's going to come down to a one-fight situation. They have one shot. They don't want to blow it here. And Reality is playing so careful to not get picked off by Mickman. Forces the echo out, forces that movement cooldown. That is the go signal. Dive into the backline here, comes through. But while that happens, Mickman catches out Pressure in the midst of their own flight. It's a disengage from Dr. Grimm here, but they don't have long. 15 seconds on the clock. And they've just got to wait for this respawner to come back in, get a clean dive. They almost get a dive onto Benevolence, but the coach gun away happens. And 3 seconds on the clock. A touch is there from Reality, but forced the recall away. And who's going to touch now? Because Reality doesn't have a recall to bail themselves out. Dr. Grimm anteed up, bursted down. Pressure are the next to go as well, trying to hide away, but Benevolence finds that kill as well. Benevolence with 2 kills to make this fight theirs potentially. Fiery finds a kill onto their counterpart, and that's gonna wrap it up there. It's a draw-win scenario here for Fable.
Incredible job by Fable on that defense. Mickman doing such a good job bullying Reality. They're keeping them boxed in with no real way to get in. By the time they are able to get in, it's late. So Grimm's been in by themselves for a good moment, taking all of that damage from the Ashe, taking on all of that damage from the Brig, and by the time Reality gets there, it's really too late to try and contest Benevolence and push them out of their spot. Great job by Mickman to support the rest of the team, and during that time, Avery is a one-man show. They don't need the rest of the help going in. All they need is the dynamite, and that's enough damage for Avery to get into the backline and do the work they need to. Mickman shutting down both of the DPS and Andromeda, opens up Benevolence to shut down Grimm, and Avery takes care of the rest. And just like that, they are in the position. One fight is all they need to win in order to shut this match down and move on to Championship Sunday. Avery's on the phone. They're calling mom, letting them know, hey, check me out tomorrow. I'm just about there. As we are 20 seconds to getting this one kicked off. Andromeda locked back in on that Ashe, something we haven't seen from him yet. Pressure away from the Echo on Tracer as well. They've been good on the Tracer, but is it enough on this first point? Mickman, I think, has called out the swap as well on that Pharah. They know that, hey, I can pump in all of the damage in the world. There's not going to be an Echo to stop me. And Fable set up, ready to go. Andromeda, their last leash on life. They've got to survive 3 minutes into this amazing Fable squad.
And Andromeda really have to lock in here. They just can't lose concentration for a second. The moment you let one player go down, that can snowball pretty badly, and that's why they're going to try and punish Avery on this rotate. Almost goes down, but kept alive just barely. Kaleidoscope having the job of a lifetime here, trying to heal everyone up, but the nano charge is what is important here. 51% already We've only been about 30 seconds into this. Good dynamite there to start building towards the Bob, and Avery will rotate in. What? No pack from Kaori, apparently. Whips just goes down instantly. A boop comes through there from Mickman on the Fara to force the backline away. Who is going to contest this? Nobody, apparently, as Fable just walk in, get kills, and win the series.
Fable looking like they're returning to form there on that last attack. And that prior one looking incredibly strong. Just took one round off. Wanted to show off the Widow a little bit. And they are back, locked and loaded. They have punched their ticket to Sunday, so that's the last we'll see of them today. But don't worry, they will be right back with you tomorrow. Amazing performance across the board. Credit to Benevolence, credit to Avery, credit to McMahon, credit to all of them. Honestly, like that's every single member of that team stepping up, doing their job. Support line as well, doing a great performance with that. We didn't see him a ton in the kill feed, but you saw Kaleidoscope there right at the end. The great target priority, making sure to keep everyone alive, switching between all those targets perfectly. And with that, we are sadly seeing Andromeda dip out of this tournament. Hopefully we'll see them next time. But Fable, looking like the team we know them as.
Yeah, absolutely. Fable finally showing a dominant performance here. You know, they get up in that upper bracket. They lose, unfortunately, to a team that just played very slightly better than them, I think. And then they came back revitalized in this match, as I said they needed to. You know, they completely understood the meta. They completely understood their opponents and what they were going to do. And I think there was a lot of team play involved in that. I don't think this was a mechanical victory at all, right? There was a ton of mechanical plays coming out from the opposition side. I think Andromeda really took the fight to Fable. However, it's just that team play. You know, every time that Avery dove in, there was always a reason for it. There was always someone's low, or an anti has been hit, or the Brig's low on packs, and it takes an immense amount of focus, awareness, and team play and communication to make that happen. You know, we can't just pin it all on Avery diving at the perfect time. It's the comms that are making that happen. It's the forcing out of those cooldowns that are making that happen. And I think it's a well-deserved win as a team.
Absolutely. With that, though, we are going to cut to a short break, but don't go anywhere. We will be right back with our last match of the day, finding our last team in the top 4. It's going to be Transformers versus Inarizaki Ka.
Oh, yeah.
Be a very, very exciting match. Transformers plays a lot of very fun comps, so if you want to see that, don't go anywhere. We will be right back with more Kunoichi action.
Lots of love. Lots of love. Love. Got lots of love. Love.
Feel my heart, it's beat tight. All my body's breathing, it's just you and me. Feel my heart, it's beat tight. All
crazy, Malin. I'm not crazy, Malin. I've just been in a very bad mood for 40 years. 40 years.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
straight new wave. Name straight new wave. Name straight new wave. Name straight new wave. Name straight new wave.
Hello everybody, and welcome back to our fourth and final match of the day. I am still Loki, that is still Toasty, coming at us from across the pond, and we've got a great matchup lined up for you today. Our final member of the top four is going to be decided. It's going to be either Transformers or Inarizaki, Ka, and I could not be more excited about both of these teams.
Oh yeah, absolutely. From what you have just told me, Loki, and look, I haven't done my homework. I'll be the one to admit it. But from what you have just told me, we have some incredible players on both of these squads. But some notable ones, of course, include Santana on the tank, who you have told me could potentially be as good or better than Avery. And that is a high title to live up to. So I'm very excited to see the tank matchup of this. Doors, I believe, is someone I recognize from BPL, actually. And if things go the way you have said they will, which is crazy compositions, I think we're in for a fun one, but potentially a quite maybe one-sided victory here for Inarizaki. That's my prediction. Just off the basis that they'll be playing less sort of crazy compositions.
Yeah, just off of recent performance, it's what you would expect. I mean, Santana performed incredibly well yesterday. Brainworms as well, a standout performer, especially on that Genji that you see right there. They did a great job. We saw the Genji come out a lot of the time when Inarizaki ran the JQ comp, actually, where they would dive the Genji into the backline, lots of carve through. They used that shout power so well, and it worked out really, really well for them, especially on Flashpoint and on Village on Nepal was the big change up for them. Velvet and Rajim, always fun to see on the support line. Rajim is a force on the Lucio. You're not going to see him a ton early fight. They like to play early fight pretty quiet. But late fight and mid fight is when they really come into their own. You're going to see a lot of Rajim coming up on the Lucio when they go for those backline kill confirms when it gets late. Really, really good team here for Inarizaki. They performed admirably yesterday. They did drop down here after going against Valentine, but that's not really much of a marker of failure, is it, when Valentine is playing as good as they are right now?
Yeah, I mean, Valentine are making a streak to get into that grand finals, right? Like, that is factual. And I think it's completely deserved on their part. Inarizaki, unfortunately, take a loss to them. That doesn't mean Inarizaki are any worse than they are. But looking at the other side of things here, the Transformers, I think it's really going to be up to the tank duel, like I said before. But if there's so much impact coming from the support line, like you said there may be, I believe it might actually come down to just pure synergy. If Transformers are playing wacky comps, they need to know how to use those wacky comps and how to play them. And that will be generally down to the backline and the tank to synergize that, control the tempo, and it might be a mechanical diff from what you've said, but it might not be a synergy diff, we don't know. It could very well be that Transformers win out in terms of the macro.
Yeah, I mean, Transformers has pretty good macro, especially coming off with Nicoletta helping them out. Nicoletta is a good support. They hit the right blend of vocal and giving the tank space, and that should really allow Dawes to kind of feel general their team. They get all the information they could possibly need, but they're not getting that space taken away from them. And hey, they play wacky, but they do it well. Like, they played ball yesterday, and I'm an eternally ball fan. I made them the promise yesterday, if you pull out the ball again, I'll forever be your #1 fan, and I will stick to that. So I am rooting for Transformers in this one. It's going to be an uphill battle, definitely. And Arizaki, I think, right now has kind of shown themselves to be the second or third best team in this tournament, just off of performance alone and that placement.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard. Let's not get ahead of ourselves there, but it is definitely doable for Transformers here, especially pulling out those kind of wacky comps. A lot of times, teams don't know how to go up against them, and especially on a recent patch update, Inarizaki has been playing those updated comps, and they probably haven't had time to play against these wacky comps and start drilling down the strategy to deal with different things while on these new compositions. So maybe that's an opening door for Transformers to step up and kind of take a match away from this team.
Yeah, and to take a match away from this team would be crazy. I mean, you're sending them out of the tournament, and you are sending yourself into tomorrow's day of games, the championship day, as we're calling it. So I think that would be like a crazy potential upset. You know, we are expecting Inarizaki to be the better team here. That doesn't necessarily mean anything against Transformers. I think they could very well upset here. And it's that potential that keeps this game very, very exciting for me personally. I do love an underdog story. I don't always like seeing the better team win, even though, you know, it's hype, it's fun, and it provides for good content, but I do like an underdog story. I do predict Inarizaki to probably win this 2-0. But that being said, Transformers, you have my vote of confidence here, especially because I like teams that also play these wacky compositions. You mentioned a lot of Wrecking Ball yesterday.
Yes. Look, I said it yesterday. I'm going to say it again today. I'm of the opinion that Wrecking Ball has been one of, if not the best tank for like the last 3 or 4 patches. But here's the thing. Nobody knows how to play Wrecking Ball. It's just the thing of nobody knows how to play them. Like, especially at the top level that we are right now, how many good Wrecking Ball players can you name? I've got 0 off the top of my head. Like, it's just, he's such a hard tank to learn, and he's such a hard tank to play that a lot of times people don't put the effort into learning him, even though he is so good. He's got all the armor in the world. He's got all the disrupt you need to set up your Pharah. He's got a great pile drive to set up kill confirms. He doesn't need resources if you play him correctly. These are all the things we've been asking for from a tank. He's got them in spades. If he's doing it right, your support will never have to look at your Wrecking Ball, meaning they can just full empower your DPS. This is exactly what we want. Just no one's good enough to execute it, is really what it comes down to.
And even in terms of the peel, which some tanks provide better, right? You know, you can counter dive with the Winston, you can matrix with the Diva. Even in terms of that utility, you can still kind of counter power drive with the Wrecking Ball, and you have the mobility to get back and peel. It's not like that is an impossibility. I think with the chaos that Wrecking Ball provides, you can get away with that quite easily. I'm hyped to see it potentially here.
I don't know if we will on Oasis.
I was going to say, Oasis, maybe City Center. I would not expect it on but Doors potentially flashing it here. What I do want to see, though, if this comes out, is Inarizaki not losing it, right? They need to just keep it composed, keep it together, and not let it disrupt them.
I mean, having that JQ there is generally a pretty good ball counter. You've got the knife to try and deal with the CC to pull the ball back in. You've got Shout in order to counter the pile drives and the roll throughs from Dawes. So realistically, so long as Inarizaki doesn't get too distracted by Dawes and they keep focusing on the threats that Transformer is bringing out, they should have a pretty good time with it. Nicoletta here on this Life Weaver, though, is going to be a huge help for Dawes. Dawes can way overextend and overaggress with no fear since they've got that Life Weaver pull backing him up.
However, a lot of damage taken early on here by Doors means that you might have to use some resources quite early on here for Nicoletta. Bit of a backline flank going through there where Horror doesn't get much value. Takes a lot of damage, the Moira goes down, and you're losing a couple of your key pieces here for Transformers, even if you do end up taking down Brainworms. You know, quite a good flex DPS out of the fight, but it doesn't matter. Inarizaki keep it together. The late fight play from Regime on the Lucio there actually probably wins it for them as well.
Now Transformers making the change. They've got the Junker Queen and double hit scan coming out now, trying to get rid of Brainworms. That was such a terrible thing for Horror there. That was so unlucky. They had the perfect flank to go on Persona. They just couldn't find the side they were on. They couldn't find them. Persona there just playing a little bit of hide and seek, and it gets them on through. And now Transformers set up on this double hit scan comp. Needs to find something, but Dawes taking so much damage early here.
Yeah, Dawes is trying to go aggro and sort of take space, but then not being very threatening about it and just not taking the space overall. That is a huge axe from Santana, actually building up almost towards this Rampage. Probably not going to get used here as that tree is invested in a 2v5. Not the best usage of it, Nicoletta, but I could see why you panicked. And now a Rampage online for Santana while Dawes is on 44%.
The name of the game so far just seems to be Dawes taking so much damage pre-fight. By the time we actually get to this engagement, nobody has any resources. Dawes is at half health, and Santana can just run right past him. Santana's just ignoring Dawes and is not getting punished for it. Oh my god!
My word! A 4-person Rampage coming through there and a huge axe to follow it up. Santana didn't have to flex on them like that with a team kill.
What in the world? Hits the axe to start us off, gets everyone low, perfect positioning on the micro spacing behind, and cleaning it off just like that. And Inarizaki now locked and loaded, 4 ults coming into this one fight territory. This is brutal.
And the Bob just disrupts everyone. It allows Santana a free engage with just the disrupt utility of that Bob. You now have a coalescence online from Mew very, very early on that doesn't really need to be used. And now 2 Junker Queens online to fend off this push with a Rampage coming up from Brainworms as well. 3 players antied up from that there as Dawes, Mew and Nico all hit by it. Even though Brainworms goes down, it is still a good trade. Santana in the backline, wreaking havoc, finding 2 kills, outplaying the opposition. And Inarizaki, off of the back of some incredible Junker Queen play, taking 100-0 on the first round.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong showing there. Keep in mind as well, even though Brainworms died on that play, they were 1v3ing. And so during that entire time, the rest of Inarizaki are hunting down those 2 stray members of Transformers, and you've got the tank up in that room, you've got Mew up in that room, and I think you had a DPS up in that room as well, who just aren't able to help anyone else on the team. And so it doesn't, like, yeah, you're going to lose Brainworms there, but I'm going to take that trade every single day of the week. I mean, good lord. Now we're on an even better point for this brawl that Santana's been playing, looking so clean on the JQ comp. Brainworms most likely going to be swapping back onto the Echo or possibly the Genji, and there it is. Genji was the premier hero from this Worm of the Brain yesterday. Let's see if they can repeat that effort here.
Yeah, the Genji is quite unique here because... Oh, what? An axe onto the Farah. Okay, Santana. Like, you flexed enough. Come on. I mean, Brainworms gets in there, gets a deflect kill as well onto Fishy. It is all Inarizaki's game at the minute. And like I was saying, the Genji is quite unique here against the Farah, which is, you know, airborne, right? The Genji wouldn't be expected to get value here, but it is. Even though they do go down, Santana is now snowballing in the front line, getting a couple staggers as well.
Say his name and he appears. Santana from the top rope coming in to get that kill and setting the team up, and it is looking real rough. Oh no, the knife in on the Farah. What is this, Santana?
Look, I'm gonna say it. Santana, not Junker Queen, Santana Junker Queen is a counter to Farah. I'm just gonna say it right now. That is twice that the Farah has been killed off by Santana, and Santana's still alive, getting away with these crazy plays in the backline where Fishy and Nicoletta are now low and taken down by the Rampage there. Regime in the late fight with that poop as well, doing so much work. Santana not only rampaging with the ult, but rampaging in the backline. Crazy stuff. Inarizaki following up on it. What is going on here?
Who is this tank? Good lord. We saw insane things from them yesterday, but this is another level. Santana is in once again and just no one's stopping them. What? This is a clinic. If you want to know how to play Junker Queen, you need to be tuned in right now, recording this, taking notes. I better see the booklet because there will be a test at the end. Santana tank is on another level right now.
Yeah, this is mental. The fact that Santana is getting away with these plays, I mean, yes, what do, right? You have no ultimates online for Transformers because you're losing these fights so dominantly. You can't do much, although you can just kill off the squishies. Brainworms and Regime go down, you lose the sound barrier and Blade in this team fight. But guess what? Velvet is there to make up the difference. Who needs DPS when you have a Baptiste that does more DPS than a soldier, right? The Amp Matrix as well. Crazy timing on that to clean up 92%, and everyone is dead on Transformers. No chance to touch here. And this was just an incredible clinic on the first map from Inarizaki. What do you do against any of those players who are just mechanically and in terms of macro outdoing you?
You tip your hat and you say good game.
Yeah.
Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And to tap it off at the end, even losing Santana, it doesn't matter. You lose one tank, you've got Tank Bob. You know, with all the tank passives helping him out on the point to help him out. I mean, this is wild. There's we talk about the rampage, we talk about the old. I want to provide solutions, I want to provide analysis to you, but there's no other way to say things other than Santana is here and they're kicking butt. I mean, seriously, just from the top rope, coming, you know, swinging in with teams. They've got the tag team going on from. It's absolutely ridiculous, and they have pinned down Transformers right now, and Transformers just doesn't seem to have a response to it.
Yeah, Transformers, their response is just let Santana come into the front line, maybe potentially get a kill on a squishy or two, and then hope you clean up afterwards. And that happened in a total of 0 of those team fights in that map. It was a 200-0 complete total wipeout, and all off of the back of, you know, Santana, Brainworms, who's doing incredible stuff on the Echo, and then on the Genji as well. Genji into Pharah is a bold play, especially in the current meta where, you know, the Pharah, the Echo are so powerful, and I was expecting, you know, Sigma play in this match, right? But the Junker Queen with the Genji, it does so much work. The Junker Queen gets in there, disrupts, the Genji cleans up the kills. They are a match made in heaven, and especially on this upcoming map on Hybrid, it is going to be King's Row. You got a lot of high grounds to play with if you want to play a Genji.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you don't got to worry about the Genji Pharah matchup. You've got Santana, who apparently is a Pharah counter. Today we will learn.
Literally.
I mean, like, the first 2 fights there, Santana alone shutting down the Pharah and making it look easy. So, like, who cares if your Genji normally has a really bad matchup there? Because Pharah is just not in the battle on King's Row here. I expect this Genji to look even better. I would be amazed if we don't see Brawl come out again for Inarizaki here. I don't know if we'll see the Junker Queen. They might decide to be a little bit silly with it now that they've got a tad bit of buffer here. Inarizaki here starting off on defense as well, where you can generally be a little bit more silly on Kings. So potentially we see the Junker Queen, potentially we see a little bit of silliness. I would be amazed if Transformers doesn't come out on a little bit of silliness. They've, you know, never mind. Both teams opting for the JQ. No silliness to be had here. We are serious only. Only top tier serious gameplay here at Kunoichi. Transformers maybe thinking about the Ram. He's got his bug fixed now. He's not on 11-second only cooldown, so
yeah,
he is playable again. Oh my god. Yeah, super great when I don't know how we messed that one up. Small indie company, by the way.
Yeah, like, okay, there has to be like a value somewhere in the code, like a constant that this says like, okay, this cooldown is this time, right? So how do you go in and change that? Like, I don't know.
It's just there's actually a secret little toggle somewhere in the code where if you accidentally hit it, it sets all their abilities to 11. They haven't been able to figure out how to take it out. It's been there since the beginning. So it's just so hard. But no, we see Horror here on the Widow as well. Dawes brings out the Ramatra and Nicoletta back on this Alari. So Transformers here just saying, let's have fun with it, see what can get done. And thus far, not much can get done.
No offense, if you're gonna play Widowmaker, you need to hit your shots. Like, maybe 5 misses in that first sequence, and then you just get dove and destroyed by a Genji. Like,
it's not easy to hit your shots when you got brainworms in your face. Like, come on, oh Velvet, come on, you really gotta do it to him like that? That's just rude.
That is crazy. Just a BM there. It's friendly BM, of course, but yeah, Santana, okay. Almost gets bursted down there. The Widowmaker close range. I didn't think this would happen. You've got a jump shot there. Doesn't manage to hit Velvet on the Baptiste, but Santana going down early. It's going to be harder to hold down the fort here, especially with how far indoors is. However, that might be a curse more than a blessing. Doors has to get out alive here. So much aggression from Regime, just chasing up that kill, forcing Doors away, and giving time for Santana to now get back on this Doomfist. So this is where the silliness begins. We have the Doom in play against a Widowmaker. This actually isn't too bad of a play, but Fishy finds Velvet. Where's the support going to come from? It's going to have to be a sound barrier from Regime coming in to help out Santana. Doesn't quite hit them, but it doesn't matter. The kills are there. Santana finds 2. Persona cleans up. And how do you come back from that, losing your Drunken Queen like that?
By everyone else playing it smart. You play it long. I mean, you continue to pump damage into Dawes. Dawes has been taking a ton of damage all day long. They continue to take it there, and it doesn't work out for him. And Santana now is already 70% to this Doomfist. Oh, what in the... How? Physically, how? They've been on Doomfist for 20 seconds!
Yeah, I mean, this is mad. You are 78% towards an ultimate. Persona gets an early kill here onto Nicoletta as well. As just a bit of a unnecessary but cool blade in the backline. Finds 2, I suppose. Brainworms cleaning up the team fight, and now Santana has that ultimate online.
That's 5 kills, right? That's 5 kills from Brainworms there.
No, I don't think.
5K, that's ace. Because they got 2 or 3 with the blade, they got another 2 with the dashes, and I think they started with the pick. So yeah, 5 kill for Brainworms there, as Santana not able to get off the ult in time means they fall on Nicoletta. This is the chance, Alariel.
Yep, Alariel comes online, utilized, but finds nothing somehow. I don't know. Everyone's put like literally bunched up close together. How do you not get value from that? As Persona just hits 3 insane shots to swing the fight there. 1 minute remaining, and Inarizaki are looking to just hold at the bus.
I'm not insane, right? Everyone just saw a Genji diff Afara, right? Like that. That's not supposed to happen. Yeah. Oh my god, this
game isn't supposed to happen, Logan. Like,
what is... Alright, Inarizaki right now is just on another level, even having fun with it. It does not seem to matter. Santana still doesn't get the ult off somehow. That's twice in a row that's happened, but here's the question. Is it gonna matter? It hasn't mattered the last 2 times. There's no way it matters this time too, right? As we get into the last fight here for Transformers.
Well, Sound Barrier comes in to negate the Bob. I suppose it was for an engage as well there, as, you know, Brainworms gets in, Persona on the high ground, diffs Fishy, their counterpart to Santana, finally using the ult, but you don't need it. Persona is doing all of the work, finds 2 headshot kills in that team fight against quite fast-moving characters as well. You know, 5 seconds remaining, Doors is going to have to touch in a last-minute flurry, but it's not going to do much. You are literally 1v3 in that situation. Sure, Regime goes a bit aggressive, you lose your Lucio, but it doesn't matter. It's a full hold. Transformers get 0% to speak of, and Inarizaki are styling.
Yeah, I mean, this is just ridiculous. Like, look, we normally don't get this amped and this excited about a match that is this far away, but I mean, this is a clinic. This is a show. We're getting amped and excited here because this isn't just one team is worse than the other. This is Inarizaki is amazing, and they are doing things that should not be possible at this level. I want to take a minute to remind you here. All of the players on Transformers are like strong T3 players. They have been in this scene for a minute. We recognize and know their names. This isn't just a great team going up against a no-name team. This is a good team going up against another good team, and Inarizaki is still putting on these kind of performances. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. And now Inarizaki has decided to give us the ball mirror. I love it. Yes, please. I have wanted this. Send me back to Overwatch 1 ball meta, please, y'all.
Look, the honorable ball mirror, as was mentioned in chat, would be the Zen Mercy, the Ball, the Pharah, the Echo, or the Echo Tracer, right? Like, that is the most honorable form of ball mirror. However, they're going to play these dishonest characters, Kiriko, Ilari, Junkrat is so dishonest, guys, come on.
Imagine playing Overwatch 2 characters in my ball mirror. As Nicoletta is going to show up early, but not for much longer.
Yeah, Santana, bit of pressure in the backline, but unfortunately you're not on a character where you're able to instantly blow up these players. You actually have to, like, get a bit of a coordinated dive going, or just a kill from Persona, like that. Fishy goes down. Very good start there for Inarizaki, as Santana gets in, forces an immortality field, and a lot of resources coming through there as well. Velvet finds Horror. That's 2 players now down for Transformers, as they start taking the point presence. Inarizaki here, looking for a hack on this Wrecking Ball just to force them away. That is going to be it. A cap coming through with just a tick, and Inarizaki in an incredible showing where Transformers literally did not capture a single point the whole series, just take a 2-0 victory.
Yeah, very, very strong performance right now from Inarizaki, looking incredible on any and every comp, whether it's Doomfist, whether it's JQ, whether we finalize with a ball, it's still Inarizaki. And with that, we have our top 4 teams. Inarizaki going to be the last one in there, also Fable. If we actually take a look at the bracket real quick, we can go over that full story of the day for you. You see there, Professor Gilbert and Valentine going to be our other 2, and tomorrow to our second, or it's not going to be played on stream, sadly, but we are going to have Inarizaki versus Fable. It's a rematch from pool play. Went to 3 maps last time, and Inarizaki pulled it out right at the end. A little bit of new patch style versus old school. We know how it works composition. Tomorrow it's going to get, I think, to a little bit of extra maps as well. So incredible gameplay there. Sadly, not going to be on stream, I don't think. We're going to open up tomorrow with winners finals, that Professor Gibble versus Valentine, which will be an incredible matchup. Those are the 2 teams that have beat the 2 amazing teams that we saw today. So the level of performance there going to be very, very high.
Yeah, I do think it is a bit disingenuous to say that just because these teams got 2-0'd, that they can't hold their own. Inarizaki and Fable. Yeah. Valentine and Professor Gibble did beat them. Factual, yes. But that 2-0 scoreline, as we all know in Overwatch, is not usually entirely representative of what actually happened in the match. It could have been very close matches, and we could have an incredible day tomorrow, and we will have an incredible day tomorrow as well. Of course, starting at 3:30 PM UK for the EU coverage on that side, but also at 3:30 EST coming in for the NA side, which is what you've been watching here. And listen, Europeans, I know it's late night, it's crazy times to be watching Overwatch tomorrow night, but you do not want to miss the NA Grand Finals. It will be incredible in the Kunoichi Open, and I think we could genuinely see any 4 of these teams breach into it.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been getting better and better talent pools with every single Kunoichi, and this one does not break that pattern at all. Santana especially is just getting me excited thinking about seeing them play even more tomorrow. But with that, we are going to be shutting it down for the night. I have been Loki, that has been Toasty. This has been our last game of the day, and thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night, and can't wait to see you tomorrow.